Transmigrated as the villain, cancelled the engagement with the female lead. Jiang Bai transmigrated and became a top-tier rich second generation. But the most important part, he's also a top-tier villain. In the end, his family is destroyed, and he loses everything: wife, children, all of it. What? The protagonist is targeting me. Jiang Bai panicked. Ding! The supreme villain system has activated. By stealing the protagonist's luck, he can earn plunder points. Plunder points can be exchanged for items from all realms to strengthen himself. From then on, Jiang Bai was excited and embarked on a journey to oppose the protagonist. It wasn't until he killed his first protagonist that he realized everything had only just begun. Chapter 1: Becoming the Great Villain from the Start. The sky was blue. The afternoon sunlight always brought a comforting warmth. In Linhai City, inside the Jiang Group office building, a tall secretary placed a car key in front of the young man and bowed respectfully. President, the car you gave to Miss Mu has been rejected again. She said you should give up and stop pursuing her. I understand, thank you for your hard work. The young man replied calmly. The secretary was slightly taken aback. It was the first time she had heard the president speak so politely to her. But she quickly composed herself and turned to leave the office. Sigh. Looking at the secretary's departing figure, Jiang Bai let out a deep sigh. He had transmigrated. He had crossed into a military king novel he had read in his previous life. What worried him the most was that he wasn't the charming protagonist surrounded by beautiful women. Instead, he was a rich second-generation villain who was constantly humiliated by the protagonist. The Jiang family, a global top-tier wealthy family. Their company spanned across various industries worldwide. Their assets surpassed $1 trillion. As the only heir of the Jiang family, Jiang Bai was born with a golden spoon. Everything was handed to him: luxury cars, mansions, and bodyguards. The epitome of a top-tier rich second generation. But this perfect life was ruined by the original owner. He kept trying to win over the female lead, Mu Shui, from the Mu family. He acted as a devoted fan, constantly pursuing her and begging for attention. In the novel, the Jiang and Mu families had a history. When they were young, Mu's father had promised Mu Shui to Jiang Bai. Both families were happy with the arrangement, but Mu Shui wasn't. She hated the arranged marriage, despite Jiang Bai's excellent qualities. He had none of the bad habits most rich second-generation kids had, but Mu Shui couldn't stand him. The more Jiang Bai cared for her, the more she despised him. Then the male lead, Yi Qian, appeared. As Mu Shui's bodyguard, with his warrior-like aura and aloof attitude, he gradually captured Mu Shui's heart. That was when Jiang Bai and the protagonist became enemies. And who was the protagonist? Anyone who opposed him was looking for trouble. Soon, the Jiang family went bankrupt, Jiang Bai was imprisoned, and his family was ruined. Even Jiang Bai himself was killed by Yi Qian overseas. No. I cannot offend the male lead. Thinking of all the events in the novel, Jiang Bai was scared. He had finally transmigrated into the life of a rich second-generation, money and people at his disposal. How could he let it all go and end up bankrupt? Cancel the engagement. I must cancel the engagement. Compared to losing everything, Mu Shui was nothing. As long as he severed ties with the male and female leads, with his family background, what kind of woman couldn't he get? Without hesitation, Jiang Bai called Mu Shui. Beep beep. On the other side of the phone, Mu Shui saw the caller ID and a look of disgust flashed across her eyes. Impatiently, she answered the phone. Jiang Bai, how many times do I have to tell you not to call my private phone? We should cancel our engagement, Jiang Bai said calmly. Mu Shui paused for a moment, her brows furrowing. Her face contorted in further disgust. In her mind, Jiang Bai must be playing some kind of trick. She believed he had ulterior motives. After a moment, Mu Shui smirked and sneered. Jiang Bai, you're trying to play hard to get and make me like you. Let me tell you, you're dreaming. All you're doing is making me hate you even more. Damn, this self-righteous woman. Jiang Bai clenched his fists. Mu Shui seemed to think that the world revolved around her. Taking a deep breath, Jiang Bai spoke again. I'll come to your house tonight with the marriage certificate to personally break off the engagement with your parents. Without waiting for Mu Shui to respond, Jiang Bai hung up the phone. On the other side, Mu Shui frowned deeply. This was the first time Jiang Bai had hung up on her. She couldn't figure out what game he was playing. Cancel the engagement. That was impossible. She didn't believe for a second that Jiang Bai would give up on her so easily. Since she could remember, Jiang Bai had always been chasing after her, even sending people to follow her, calling it protection. What Jiang Bai was doing today, she knew it had some trick behind it. Sigh. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Bai finally felt relieved. As long as he got rid of the engagement, he wouldn't have to clash with Yi Qian anymore. His vast family wealth would be safe. Ding. Congratulations, host, for altering the storyline. The Supreme Villain system is officially activated. Before Jiang Bai could react, a system interface appeared in front of him. Jiang Bai, only son of the Jiang family. Identity, villain. Mission, kill the protagonist Yi Qian. Plunder luck points, 500. The Supreme Villain system, as the name suggests, would assist Jiang Bai in becoming the ultimate villain. He could plunder the protagonist's luck, women, treasures, and more to earn plunder points. These points could be exchanged or used for rewards in the system shop. As long as he had enough plunder points, he could even exchange for Pangu and recreate the world. Oppose the protagonist. Jiang Bai shook his head and dared not even think about it. Anyone who went against the protagonist was bound to meet a tragic end. Why not stay away from the protagonist and live the rich second-generation life? Isn't he that better? System, please understand, host. Since the beginning of time, villains and protagonists have always been eternal enemies. Only one can survive, and the victor becomes the true protagonist. Then what if I don't do it? Jiang Bai frowned. The appearance of the system was not good news for him. System, if you don't, your fate will be just like in the novel. Family destroyed, everything lost. This is your fate. It cannot be avoided or changed. Fate. Jiang Bai was silent, deep in thought. The office fell into silence. Time passed slowly. Suddenly, Jiang Bai's eyes darkened, and his mind made a firm decision. To hell with fate. I'll do it. For his family's fortune. For his own survival. He had no choice but to make Yi Qian die. He knew the entire plot of the novel, had a powerful family, and now a system to help him. He wasn't going to let Yi Qian live. Ding. Congratulations, host, for making a wise choice. The Supreme Villain system is officially bound. A newbie gift package has been sent. A flash of light appeared. A card appeared before Jiang Bai. Supreme Character Card, can summon characters from all realms. Summoned person's loyalty is full and never betrays. Use. As Jiang Bai spoke, a tall, muscular man with red hair appeared in front of him. A Fu, nicknamed Black Tiger. Character traits, super strength, great combat skills, and high battle power. Character identity, villain. Subordinate A Fu, seeing young Master Jiang. A Fu respectfully cupped his fists. Forget it, from now on, you'll be my bodyguard. Protect me wherever I go. Jiang Bai waved his hand lightly and returned to his work on the desk. Chapter 2, starting with a breakup with the female lead. The night grew darker. Jiang Bai paused his work, stretched his sore shoulders, and called out to his secretary. Secretary Fang, come in for a moment. Outside, Fang Linga, upon hearing Jiang Bai's summons, opened the door and bent slightly as she entered. Mr. Jiang, you called for me. Bring the marriage certificate between me and Mu Shui, along with all the cooperation projects with the Mu family. Come with me to the Mu residence. Understood. Fang Linga replied, her expression tinged with a bit of sorrow as she turned and left. Though she was curious about how our Fu had gotten inside, as a secretary, she knew what was appropriate to ask and what was not. Though Linhai City was not a first-tier city, the property prices in the wealthy districts were still enough to make most people pause. The Mu family residence covered more than 3,000 square meters, and the value of the property alone was over 300 million. After receiving Jiang Bai's call, Mu Shui returned home early, waiting for him. What kind of game is Jiang Bai playing this time? Mu Shui lay on her bed, swinging her jade-like foot, muttering to herself. Miss, Mr. Jiang has arrived. Your mother asks that you greet him, the maid's voice came from outside. I know. Mu Shui got up from the bed, dressed neatly, and walked out of her room. Normally, she would have avoided Jiang Bai at all costs, and certainly wouldn't have gone to greet him in person. But today was different. She wanted to see what game Jiang Bai was playing. At the entrance of the Mu family villa, a small golden car stopped. Jiang Bai, accompanied by Fang Linger and Arfu, stepped out and leisurely walked through the gate. The first thing that caught his eye was a tall and graceful woman, with outstanding looks and a perfect figure. It was none other than Mu Shui. With such looks, no wonder both the original protagonist and Yi Qian were attracted to her, Jiang Bai muttered under his breath, so quietly that even he could barely hear it. Jiang Bai, what do you think you're doing? Mu Shui's gaze was filled with disdain as she spoke sarcastically, don't think that retreating will make me think better of you. Jiang Bai sneered and took a step forward, reaching out to touch Mu Shui. Mu Shui swiftly sidestepped, avoiding his touch. Jiang Bai, however, didn't seem to mind. He casually said, I remember, we're supposed to get officially engaged soon, right? Engaged? Mu Shui sneered, even if we were to marry, I wouldn't let you touch me. With that, she turned and walked away, unwilling to stay a moment longer with Jiang Bai. For some reason, she felt that Jiang Bai was different today, giving her a sense of unfamiliarity and distance. Has Jiang Bai come, my nephew? Please, come in. Mu Shui's father, hearing the arrival, spoke with a hint of joy. He was quite satisfied with Jiang Bai as his prospective son-in-law. I'm here for two things, Uncle Mu. First, Fang Linger. Fang Linger bent slightly and placed a file in front of Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai didn't even glance at it, simply pushing it toward Mu Shui's father. Uncle Mu, take a look at this, Jiang Bai said with a wave of his hand. Mu Shui's father opened the file with curiosity, and the first thing he saw were the words, marriage certificate. Jiang Bai, what is the meaning of this? He asked, confused. I'm here to annul the engagement, Jiang Bai said nonchalantly. This statement immediately stunned the three people in the room. Annul the engagement? Jiang Bai, are you joking? Mu Shui's mother exclaimed, her voice filled with disbelief. Even Mu Shui looked at Jiang Bai in shock. She hadn't expected him to really show up and call off the engagement. A sense of unease suddenly welled up inside her. He must be trying to make me think he's giving up, only to make me change my mind and marry him instead. Yes, that's it. He wants to play hard to get. With that thought, a mocking smile appeared on her lips. She was eager to see how Jiang Bai would react if she agreed to the annulment. Would he beg her to take him back? Mu Shui's father closed the marriage certificate, his expression serious. Jiang Bai, did my daughter do something wrong to you? Jiang Bai shook his head gently. No, Miss Mu is an excellent woman. Then why? Mu Shui's father pushed the marriage certificate back toward Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai, take this back. I'll pretend this never happened. Mu Shui almost expected Jiang Bai to take the marriage certificate and leave in defeat, the mocking smile on her face growing wider. However, Jiang Bai didn't do what she had expected. Instead, he took out a pen from his pocket, opened the marriage certificate, and signed his name on the bottom corner. He then pushed it back toward Mu Shui's father. Miss Mu is a woman of great stature. How could I, Jiang Bai, ever deserve her? Please, Mr. Mu, sign the certificate and annul the engagement. Upon seeing Jiang Bai's signature, Mu Shui's father could no longer stay calm. He looked at Jiang Bai, astonished. Jiang Bai, are you serious? Yes. Jiang Bai nodded firmly. Boom. It felt as though a thunderclap had struck Mu Shui's brain. She stood frozen in place, the mocking smile instantly fading from her face as she stared at Jiang Bai in disbelief. He was serious. Jiang Bai had truly come to call off the engagement. At that moment, she felt completely alienated from Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai, I'll pretend you were just saying this in anger. If Mu Shui has done anything to offend you, I'll apologize on her behalf. Mu Shui's mother rushed to speak. I'm not angry, and she hasn't wronged me. This is a decision I've made after careful consideration, Jiang Bai said flatly, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. Ridiculous. Mu Shui's father slammed the table in anger, his face flushed with rage. This marriage was arranged by our families. How can you just call it off? Jiang Bai remained calm, unaffected by Mu Shui's father's outburst. He spoke in a composed, almost indifferent tone. Marriage should promote freedom. I, Jiang Bai, am unworthy of Miss Mu. And I'm not here to negotiate with you. I'm here to inform you. Today, this marriage will be annulled, whether you agree or not. Fine, 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 Mu Shui's father sneered in fury, barely able to contain his rage. Jiang Bai, have you thought this through? Once this marriage is annulled today, you will never be able to sign again. You won't even have the chance to step into this house. Mu Shui glared at Jiang Bai with fury. To have someone come to her home and annul the engagement, what would others think of her if this got out? Wouldn't this be humiliating for her? Isn't this exactly what you've been dreaming of? Jiang Bai feigned innocence, asking. Now that I'm fulfilling your wish, why are you backing down? Chapter 3, the protagonist makes a dramatic entrance. Jiang Bai. Mu Shui was completely furious. Getting rid of this marriage was something she had dreamed of for so long. But now that it was finally happening, she hesitated. As soon as she signed her name on the marriage certificate, she would be completely free. She could finally escape Jiang Bai's clutches once and for all. Mr. Mu, Miss Mu, please sign. After you sign, we'll move on to the second matter. Jiang Bai raised his hand, signaling them both. Jiang Bai, I'll ask you one last time, are you really going through with this divorce? Mu Shui glared at Jiang Bai, her eyes filled with anger. She had never wanted to marry Jiang Bai, but his actions today irritated her. Before this, Jiang Bai had always been desperately trying to please her. Now, he suddenly wanted to divorce her, and it made her feel humiliated. If there was to be a divorce, it should have been her decision, not his. Yes, I'm serious. Could it be that Miss Mu is willing to sleep with me instead? Jiang Bai's gaze was shameless as he looked Mu Shui up and down. Mu Shui felt disgusted at the thought of being with Jiang Bai. She quickly grabbed the pen and signed her name on the marriage certificate. Mu's parents, seeing this, wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Ding, congratulations, host. You've changed the plot and received 9,500 luck plunder points. Hearing the system's voice in his mind, Jiang Bai smiled slightly. He closed the marriage certificate and handed it to Fang Ling. Then, he pulled out another document and placed it on the table. Alright, now let us move on to the second matter. Jiang Bai, what else do you want? Mu Shui's eyes were full of fury. In that moment, after signing her name, Mu Shui didn't feel relief as she had imagined. Instead, a bitter feeling rose within her, almost like swallowing a fly. Jiang Bai ignored her and turned to look at Mr. Mu, pointing to the document. Mr. Mu, these development projects here were given to your Mu family as part of the dowry when my family arranged this marriage. Now that the marriage is being annulled, it's time to return those projects, don't you think? Return them. Why should we return them? Mr. Mu, no longer pretending to be polite, dropped the act and stared at Jiang Bai coldly. These projects are worth 1.5 billion. You're not trying to take them from us, are you? Jiang Bai's expression grew grim. In the original storyline, the protagonist Yi Qian was able to topple the Jiang family with the help of the Mu family. The projects Jiang Bai held were destined to appreciate in value to 5 billion in the near future. Such a huge sum of money would never be left in the hands of the Mu family to support Yi Qian's growth. Jiang Bai, Snow has been with you for so long. The Jiang family should at least show something. Mr. Mu shamelessly suggested. Jiang Bai sneered coldly. Heh. Let us not even talk about the fact that I've never even touched her hand. Even if I had, would she, Mu Shui, be worth 1.5 billion? You. How dare you humiliate me like this? Security, throw them out. Mu Shui screamed, her anger boiling over. At that moment, her feelings for Jiang Bai plummeted to the lowest point. Think you can just throw me out without signing? What a fool's dream. Jiang Bai turned to look at Fang Ling. Our Fu. Understood. Our Fu turned and walked toward the villa's entrance, casting a deadly glare at the Mu family's security, exuding an aura as if he could single-handedly stop any number of men. Go! Mu Shui's order rang out. A dozen security guards with batons charged toward our Fu. Black Tiger's heart. Mantis fist. A tiger kills 2 sheep. Every time our Fu spoke, one of the guards fell to the ground. Mr. Mu, your security skills are lacking. You might want to sign this document. Jiang Bai placed the document in front of Mr. Mu, who, after a brief moment of anger, quickly regained his composure and smiled. Jiang Bai, this marriage was arranged by our families. You're annulling it unilaterally. Do your parents know? Jiang Bai smirked, flashing a professional fake smile. Mr. Mu, this is business. Don't worry, I'll speak to my parents myself. Oh, is that so? Mr. Mu's eyes shifted as a plan formed in his mind. He quickly signed the document and handed it back to Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai, the projects you mentioned were always under the responsibility of old Tang. If you want them back, you'll need his approval. But old Tang is not as easy to deal with as I am. Don't worry about it, Mr. Mu, Jiang Bai replied smoothly, taking the signed document. He stood up and left without saying another word. As long as Mr. Mu signed the document, Jiang Bai was confident that he could retrieve the development projects. Arfu, let us go. Yes, young master. Arfu stopped his attack, and with Fang Ling on either side, the three of them headed toward the Villar's entrance. Stop. After hitting people, you think you can just leave? Before Jiang Bai could step outside, a voice called out from behind. He paused, turned around, and saw a young man with an ordinary appearance, smirking as he watched the three of them. What are you going to do? Jiang Bai sneered, walking toward the Villar's exit. The young man's face showed a flash of anger. He quickly closed the distance and grabbed at Jiang Bai. Hit someone and want to leave. Stay right there. Young Master Jiang, watch out for his lobster claw. Arfu, turning around, faced the young man. Bang! The two collided but immediately separated. Master. Both men had the same thought, a skilled fighter. Yi Qian, what are you doing? Who told you to act on your own? Mr. Mu's voice came from behind. Jiang Bai quickly turned around. Yi Qian, it's him. Jiang Bai's eyes narrowed, and a murderous intent flashed in his heart. This was just a novel, not a film, so Jiang Bai had never seen what Yi Qian looked like before. Kill him. Jiang Bai ordered coldly. Yes, young master. Arfu moved first, attacking Yi Qian with a series of unpredictable strikes. Two dragons playing with pearls, flying crane catching shrimp. Flying dragon in the sky, skyward monkey stealing the box. Go, bring me a chair. Jiang Bai told Fang Ling. Yes. Fang Ling respectfully brought over a chair. Once Jiang Bai sat down, she stood obediently behind him. Feeling a bit tired? Massage my shoulders. Jiang Bai allowed Fang Ling's hands to rest on his shoulders, while his eyes remained fixed on the duel between Arfu and Yi Qian. Black tiger strikes the eagle. Tail of the horse swats flies. Yi Qian, the protagonist, was indeed extraordinary. Despite Arfu's ferocious attack, Yi Qian moved with effortless grace. If only I had a gun right now, Jiang Bai thought to himself. With a gun, he could just shoot Yi Qian and be done with it. However, this thought was quickly discarded. If Yi Qian were that easy to deal with, the original protagonist would never have been defeated so badly. Chapter 4, The Well-Behaved Little Secretary. Fierce Dragon Roar. Arfu and Yi Qian were getting more and more intense in their fight, and the Villar's furnishings were getting smashed up in the process, making Mu Fu feel a pang of pain. Enough, that's enough. Do you really think my house is a battlefield? Mu Fu shouted, his face darkening. Arfu, stop. We're leaving. Jiang Bai stood up from his chair, his expression impassive. HMPH, I'll let you off this time. But next time, I'll definitely kill you, Arfu threatened with a vicious glare at Yi Qian. Yi Qian, however, just sneered and didn't even respond. Mr. Mu, now I understand the hospitality of the Mu family, Jiang Bai mocked sarcastically, turning to leave the villa. Mu Fu looked at the destroyed furniture and the security guards lying on the ground, his mouth twitching. Who's really the victim here? The repair and medical bills are going to cost a fortune. Congratulations, host, you have gained 5,000 fate-stealing points. Outside the villa, Jiang Bai heard the mechanical voice of the system. He smiled faintly as he got into his golden car and drove away. Jiang Xiao, I'm sorry. I didn't kill that guy. Arfu lowered his head and apologized in the car. It's fine. If he was that easy to kill, he wouldn't be Yi Qian, Jiang Bai said nonchalantly. It was within his expectations that Arfu couldn't kill Yi Qian. If the protagonist could be killed so easily, he wouldn't be the protagonist, he'd be a side character. Boss, where are we going next? Fang Linger asked. Where are we going? Jiang Bai glanced at Fang Linger's shapely figure, lifting her chin with his hand, speaking in a flirtatious tone. Do you know what a young master is? And no, I don't. Fang Linger said nervously. Change into some seductive clothes and come drink with me. Jiang Bai's golden car stopped in front of a clothing store, and Fang Linger got out of the car. A little while later, Fang Linger came out wearing a tight-fitting outfit. As she walked, all the men gawked, and the women envied her. She got into the golden car, and they drove off. The car stopped in front of a bar. Let us go, drink with me, Jiang Bai said, pulling Fang Linger out of the car and into the bar. The loud music and dim lights in the bar made Fang Linger furrow her brows involuntarily. Boss, are we really drinking here? Fang Linger asked, her voice barely audible over the noise. What? Jiang Bai shouted. Never mind, Fang Linger quickly shook her head. She was just a secretary. Wherever the boss went, she had to follow. Get me the most expensive package here and the prettiest girls. Jiang Bai handed the sales staff a black card. The staff were quick to serve him. Within moments, several women with revealing outfits sat beside Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai wrapped his arms around the two nearest women, leaning in as he said, Do you see the drinks in front of you? Whoever drinks the most today will get a big red envelope from me. Boss, how big is this red envelope? One of the women in Jiang Bai's arms asked, swaying her body. Big. Jiang Bai smiled provocatively. 1 million to start, no cap. Really? Really? Upon hearing Jiang Bai's confirmation, all the women's eyes sparkled. They eagerly grabbed the drinks and started downing them. They weren't worried about Jiang Bai reneging on the promise of a red envelope. After all, this was Dragon Tang, a bar run by Old Tang. Just the drinks on the table were worth tens of thousands each. Drinking one bottle was fine, and drinking more was even better. Waiter, bring more drinks. Jiang Bai ordered, pushing the bottles onto the table. His display of the lavish, spoiled young master lifestyle was on full display. Fang Linger sat aside, frowning deeply as she watched. She couldn't help but think to herself, the entire amount she earned in a year wouldn't even cover this one night's expenses for Jiang Bai. Har har. Jiang Bai laughed contentedly. Not far from Jiang Bai's seat, a man glanced at him before turning to leave. Once the man was gone, Jiang Bai let go of the women, waving his hand. You can leave now. Boss, what about our red envelopes? One of the women asked bluntly. Go to the service desk to collect it later. Jiang Bai waved impatiently. HMPH. All the women cast lingering glances at the drinks on the table before twisting their waists and leaving. Have the tails disappeared? Jiang Bai asked a Fu, who was scanning the surroundings. A Fu stood up and replied, Jiang Xiao, I'll check. Go ahead. After a Fu left, only Jiang Bai and Fang Linger remained at the table. Fang Linger looked at Jiang Bai, hesitated, and finally spoke. Boss. Boss Jiang. Spit it out, what's on your mind? Jiang Bai said. Fang Linger bit her lip, gathering courage. Boss, if you're feeling frustrated, you can come find me. I'll do anything. As soon as she finished, it seemed like she was afraid Jiang Bai would misunderstand, so she quickly waved her hands. Don't worry, boss. I won't ask you to take responsibility. Is that so? Jiang Bai smiled slightly and pointed to the drinks on the table. Then drink them all. This. Fang Linger looked at the many bottles in front of her, hesitating. She never drank alcohol, especially not in a place like this. What's wrong? Didn't you just say you'd do anything? A few bottles of alcohol, and you back down. Jiang Bai looked at her with a mocking smile. With a thud, Fang Linger opened a bottle and chugged it down. The first bottle was gone, and Jiang Bai watched quietly. Thud. The second bottle was gone. Fang Linger felt the alcohol hitting her head, starting to get a little tipsy. Jiang Bai still didn't stop her. Thud. The third bottle was gone, and Fang Linger started to lose focus. Just as she was about to drink the fourth bottle, a large hand grabbed her wrist. Jiang Bai smiled at her and said, My drinks are expensive. If you drink them all, what will I drink? Boss, I'll do anything. Fang Linger said with dazed eyes. I know you'll do anything. I understand your feelings. Jiang Bai said, pulling Fang Linger into his arms. Such a silly girl. As Jiang Bai caressed Fang Linger's body, he couldn't help but think about her storyline in the original novel. In the original story, after the Jiang family went bankrupt, Jiang Bai was abandoned by his friends and family. He wandered aimlessly for a while, with no place to call home. Only Fang Linger stuck by him, bringing him back to her own house. When Jiang Bai was on the brink of collapse, it was Fang Linger who comforted him and took care of him without complaint, letting him see the light again. But in the end, this kind-hearted girl died at Yi Qian's hands while trying to save Jiang Bai. Chapter 5, Overpowering the Bar Manager. Jiang Bai still remembered the last words that Fang Linger said before her death: "Run, run as far as you can." It was precisely because of Fang Linger's death that the original host went completely insane. He fled overseas without a second thought, intending to make a comeback and fight to the death with Yi Qian. But in the end, he was defeated by the protagonist's halo and met a tragic end abroad. Before dying, the original host finally realized the truth. The person who loved him the most had always been by his side, but he never noticed. With this regret, the original host closed his eyes. And thus, the novel neared its end. Jiang Bai recalled how, after reading the conclusion, he was so furious that he sent the author a gift of local specialties. "Actually, you are the one I should have married," Jiang Bai said, holding Fang Linger in his arms, revealing his true feelings. However, the noise in the bar was so loud that Fang Linger couldn't hear him clearly. Meanwhile, Mu's father was shocked by the report he received. "You're telling me that Jiang Bai went to the bar and even ordered several women?" "Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. Young Master Jiang was all over a few women, touching them up and down." "What's so strange about that?" Mu's mother stepped forward and said. "This Jiang family heir, on the surface, broke off the engagement with us, but deep down, he can't bear Mu Shui. So, he went to drink away his sorrows. As long as Mu Shui uses a little trick, this Jiang family heir will obediently return to her hands." "I hope so." Mu's father shook his head and walked away. Jiang Bai, looking at the slightly tipsy Fang Linger in his arms, couldn't hold back any longer. He lowered his head and gently kissed her. An ambiguous atmosphere filled the booth. Fang Linger widened her eyes in disbelief as she looked at Jiang Bai. Her body didn't resist his advances. At that moment, a vicious man strode toward Jiang Bai, loudly shouting, "Which boss was it who said earlier that if we drink, we get red envelopes?" The man's words broke the intimate moment between Jiang Bai and Fang Linger. Jiang Bai raised his head, his expression slightly unfriendly. "It was me. Do you have a problem with that?" When the man saw who it was, his face immediately turned pale, and his body began to tremble. He stuttered, "Jiang. Jiang. Young master, I didn't know you were here." "Clueless fool. What, are you afraid I won't pay up?" Jiang Bai said coldly. He had been about to confess his feelings to Fang Linger, but the man interrupted him. The anger inside him boiled over. The man, seeing Jiang Bai's unfriendly expression, quickly put on a smile and bowed obsequiously. "Young Master Jiang, I didn't mean to offend you. How could I doubt your financial power?" "Then get out of here!" Jiang Bai shouted sharply. He never had a good attitude toward people who were submissive and cowardly. If anyone else had been sitting there instead of him, the man would have been intimidated into coughing up money. "I'm leaving now," the man said, quickly turning around to leave. "Wait!" Jiang Bai suddenly called after him, his tone unfriendly. "What, you're just leaving like that?" The man, forcing a smile, said, "What would young Master Jiang like me to do?" If it had been someone else, the man would have told them all kinds of things. But in front of Jiang Bai, he dared not show any temper. "Tell Tang Long I want to see him tomorrow night. I'll be waiting here," Jiang Bai stated bluntly. Thud. The man stumbled, falling to the ground. He begged, "Young Master Jiang, please spare me. How could someone like me, a nobody, meet someone like Tang Lao?" Jiang Bai walked up to the man, patted his cheek lightly, and teased, "That's your problem. I just want what I want. Otherwise, you can forget about running this bar," Jiang Bai added coldly. The man quickly shook his head, forced a bitter smile, and said, "Young Master Jiang, even if you kill me, I still can't deliver your message." "Kill you? Sounds good," Jiang Bai said, turning around and snatching the microphone from the host. Sorry to interrupt your enjoyment, everyone, Jiang Bai said into the microphone. But I have a personal matter here today. This bar is now booked by me. You think you can just book the whole place? Who do you think you are? A wealthy second-generation rich man shouted loudly. His companion quickly covered his mouth and whispered in fear, Are you crazy? That's Jiang Bai, the only heir of the Jiang family. The wealthy young man inhaled sharply, immediately breaking out in cold sweat. The wealth of his family was nothing compared to the Jiang family's. Who do I think I am? Jiang Bai sneered, looking at the rich second-generation man, then turned to Afu and said, Afu, clear the place. Understood, young Master Jiang. Afu raised a booth with both hands, threw it into the air, and kicked it. With a loud crash, the booth shattered into pieces, scattering on the floor. Jiang Bai smiled at everyone in the bar and said, Everyone, please leave. Hey! The crowd chuckled bitterly and shook their heads before heading for the exit. They never expected to run into Jiang Bai in this small bar. It was like running into Wang Sikong at a street stall, a shock. Can't mess with him, can't mess with him. One by one, the crowd left the bar, including the previously noisy rich second generation, who left with his head down. You all leave as well, Jiang Bai gestured to the service staff and the women who had been drinking with him. The service staff and the women looked at the man, who waved his hand and said, Listen to young Master Jiang. All of you, leave. Once they all left, the bar was left with just Jiang Bai, Fang Ling, Afu, and the man. I'm giving you one last chance. Will you help me deliver the message to Tang Long? Jiang Bai asked coldly. The man, with a miserable face, replied, Young Master Jiang, it's not that I don't want to help, but I really can't. Tang Lao will kill me if he finds out. Fine. You're something, Jiang Bai said, dissatisfied, before picking up a bottle of red wine. With a thud, he smashed it on the man's head. The red wine mixed with blood poured down. Young Master Jiang, even if you kill me, I still want to deliver the message, the man said, defiantly. Jiang Bai gave him a thumbs up and said, Impressive. You've got guts. I'll give you a like. I'll show you what guts are, Jiang Bai said, kicking the man hard. He then turned to pick up the slightly tipsy Fang Ling and shouted to Afu, Let us go. Take care, young Master Jiang. The man struggled to get up from the floor. Don't bother seeing me off. Tell Tang Long I'll be waiting here tomorrow afternoon. If he doesn't come, he'll face the consequences. Jiang Bai didn't look back as he walked out of the bar and got into the small golden car. Take me to the Xingqian Hotel. Yes, young Master Jiang. The driver stepped on the gas, and the small golden car sped away. President, are you really going to meet Tang Long tomorrow? Fang Ling asked, her eyes glazed. Is there a problem? Jiang Bai asked. President, I've heard that Tang Long is very cunning and devious. You need to be very careful when dealing with him, Fang Ling cautioned. Chapter 6 Take down Fang Ling. No matter how clever a fox is, there will be times when he is careless. Besides, I am not going to discuss business with him, but to ask for something. Jiang Bai said with narrowed eyes. On the other side. After Jiang Bai left, the man took out his mobile phone, dialed Tang Long's number, and said respectfully, Mr. Tang, the eldest young master of the Jiang family is gone. Did he say anything before he left? The person asked on the phone. He said, he will wait for you at the bar tomorrow. If you don't come, you will bear the consequences. The man trembled. He had imagined Tang Long's furious look. He. A sneer came from the phone. He smashed my place today and dared to threaten me. He is really a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers. Do you know why I did that in the bar just now? In the presidential suite of the hotel, Jiang Bai took off his suit and threw it on the sofa and asked. I don't know. Thinking about what will happen next, Fang Ling blushed. It's useless to just visit an old fox like Tang Long. Only by killing the chicken to scare the monkey and giving him a warning, will he surrender obediently. But will he surrender? Fang Ling asked doubtfully. He will, he has already colluded with Mu Ben. If he dares not to come tomorrow, I will continue to smash his place. Jiang Bai remembered that in the original book, it was Tang Long and Mu Ben, that is, Mu's father, who colluded. The two of them, one in the open and the other in the dark, cooperated with Yi Qian to devour Jiang's industry bit by bit. In other words, from the beginning, they were enemies. President, CEO, I suddenly feel that you have changed a lot. Recalling the scenes that happened today, Fang Linger couldn't believe it. It was as if she met Jiang Bai for the first time. The domineering way of breaking off the engagement at the Mu family, the rough momentum in the bar. They were all different from the Jiang Bai she knew before. Especially that gentle kiss, which touched her heartstrings. What are you thinking about? We should go to bed. Jiang Bai interrupted Fang Linger's thoughts and threw Fang Linger on the bed. Then bursts of music sounded. The sun was high in the sky. Jiang Bai opened his eyes in a daze. What came into his eyes was Fang Linger's sleeping face and the room full of clothes. Thinking of the madness of last night, Jiang Bai was distracted. The happiness of rich people is really unimaginable. A presidential suite of hundreds of square meters. Beautiful women with figures and looks above 98 points. These, he can get them at his fingertips. Have a good rest for a day. Jiang Bai stroked Fang Linger's face and said to himself with a little concern. Dingling. A phone rang. Jiang Bai picked up the phone and saw the 3 words, Old Fox, on it. Hey, what do you want to talk to me about, Old Fox? Go home. 4 words came from the phone, and then it was hung up. Jiang Bai got up from the bed, picked up his clothes on the ground, dressed neatly, and stepped out of the door of the room. After he left, Fang Linger slowly opened her eyes, with a shy expression on her face. Outside the hotel, the driver had been waiting for a long time. Jiang Bai sat on the little golden man and said straight to the point, let's go back to Jiang Mansion. After an hour's journey, the little golden man stopped in a luxurious courtyard. Jiang Bai got out of the car and said to the driver, go back to the restaurant, wait for Linger to wake up, and pick Linger up. After that, Jiang Bai walked towards the villa in front. Ding-dong sound. The door of the villa was pushed open by Jiang Bai. Are you back? Jiang's father Jiang Yuhua sat on the sofa and asked without looking back. I'm back. Jiang Bai threw his coat and answered. Although he had traveled through time. But when he saw the original owner's parents, he didn't feel strange at all. I heard that you went to the Mu family to cancel the engagement. Father Jiang picked up a book and asked while reading. If you cancel, a forced melon is not sweet. There is no need to waste time. Jiang Bai said indifferently. Father Jiang sighed and sighed, after all, Schwer, that girl, doesn't have this blessing. Mother Jiang came over and said, it's better to cancel. Over the years, we have repaid the Mu family's kindness enough. Old man, I really want to know what kindness you owe the Mu family. Jiang Bai said curiously. Although the Jiang and Mu families are both wealthy families, the asset values are very different. The Jiang family's assets are over 1 trillion, while the Mu families are only a few billion. With such a huge gap, Jiang's father and Mu's father are actually good friends. This is what happened. A flash of memory flashed in Jiang's father's eyes, and he slowly began to speak. 17 years ago, Mu Ben and I met by chance at a bidding meeting. It was a coincidence that an enemy was about to shoot me. Mu Ben accidentally stood in front of me and blocked the bullet for me, so that I escaped. For this, Mu Ben almost paid the price of his life. Pay the price of his life. Jiang Bai chuckled, looked at Jiang's father seriously, and said. How do you know that this enemy was not called by Mu Ben? Click. Jiang's hand paused as he turned the page. He raised his head and looked at Jiang Bai in disbelief. Old man, don't be fooled by Mu Ben. After speaking, Jiang Bai turned and walked to the 2nd floor. Looking at Jiang Bai's back, Jiang's father put down the book in his hand, dialed a mysterious phone and said. Check for me about Mu Ben's injury 17 years ago. System, how much plunder value do I have now? In the room, Jiang Bai muttered in his heart. Jiang Bai, Jiang's only son. Identity, big villain. Mission, kill the protagonist Yi Qian. Luck plunder value, 20,000. System, how much luck value does Yi Qian have left? Jiang Bai asked. Yi Qian 80,000 100,000. The lower the protagonist's luck, the higher the success rate of killing the protagonist. Is there still 80,000? Jiang Bai's eyes flashed. He thought about how to cheat Yi Qian's luck value. The 3 major helpers of Yi Qian's fortune. Tang Long, Mu Ben, and the foreign mercenary group. The first step is to kill Tang Long. Mu Ben, the old fox can definitely find some clues here. Kill these two guys, Yi Qian's luck will definitely drop by half. Jiang Bai thought truthfully in his heart, and murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He had a plan in mind to deal with Tang Long. As a time traveler, his biggest golden finger is not the system, but familiar with the plot. He knows the weaknesses of all the important characters in the play. Tang Long is extremely cold and ruthless to others, and his actions are particularly cruel. It is with this cruelty he went from being a little brother to the underground king of Linhai City. The industries in his hands are all over Linhai City. But Jiang Bai knows that Tang Long has a fatal weakness. That is, Tang Long and Xiao San have a daughter. A daughter who looks cute on the surface, but in her heart, she wants Tang Long to die. This daughter holds some evidence of Tang Long's crimes. Dong dong. Xiao Bai, your dad wants to talk to you. Mother Jiang knocked on the door and shouted. Got it, give me 10 minutes. Chapter 7 I'm not interested in money. System, I want to use 20,000 plunder points to draw a lottery. Drawing. Congratulations to their host for activating 20 consecutive draws. Congratulations to their host for drawing attribute points +1. Congratulations to their host for drawing attribute points +1. Congratulations to their host for drawing firearms proficiency. Congratulations to their host for drawing firearms master level. Congratulations to their host for drawing the Eye of Attributes. 20 draws. Jiang Bai drew a total of 17 attribute points and 3 skills. Attribute points can improve any attribute of the body except luck. Eye of Attributes can detect the physical attributes of others. Firearms Master, Master of Firearms. A memory about firearms poured into Jiang Bai's mind. Jiang Bai felt that his understanding and use of firearms had reached its peak in an instant. How to assemble quickly, how to produce the power of 1+1. He now had an inexplicable sense of confidence. As long as he was given a gun, he could kill the Prime Minister of Arlone. Jiang Bai, Jiang's only son. Identity, big villain. Mission, kill the protagonist Yi Qian. Lucky plunder value, 0. Speed, 1+. Strength, 1+. Physique, 1+. Charm value, 8+. Skills, Gunmaster. Follower, Arfu. A brand new attribute board appeared in front of Jiang Bai. Such a high charm value, such a rubbish physical attribute. Jiang Bai added 5 attribute points to speed, strength, and physique respectively. The remaining 2 attribute points were added to the charm value. The heat flow passed. Jiang Bai felt that his body, waist and legs were no longer painful. The kidney power became stronger. Xiao Bai, hurry up, there are guests. Mother Jiang urged outside the door. I know. What kind of guests will it be? Jiang Bai opened the door of the room in confusion, walked down the stairs and came to the living room. What caught his eyes was a familiar back on the sofa. Fanglinger, why are you in my house? Jiang Bai exclaimed. President. CEO. Fanglinger stood up subconsciously when she heard the voice behind her. Didn't I ask the driver to pick you up? Why are you here so soon? Jiang Bai walked to the sofa, sat on it and asked. I asked her to come, you are not the only one with a driver. Father Jiang said on the side. Old fox, you sent someone to monitor me. Jiang Bai asked angrily. Spying on you. Father Jiang thought of something and got so angry that he said unhappily. Next time you take a girl to a hotel, can you use your own credit card? If I hadn't been at home last night, your mother would have thought I took a girl to a hotel. What a rip-off. Oh. A crow seemed to fly over Jiang Bai's head. When he checked in yesterday, he seemed to have used Father Jiang's credit card. Okay, the meal is ready, come and eat. Mother Jiang's voice came from the restaurant. Let's eat first. After dinner, I have something to tell you. Father Jiang stood up and walked towards the restaurant. Let's go, let's eat. Jiang Bai stretched out his hand to help Fanglinger up and said. Fanglinger was embarrassed and nervous and said, President. President. I won't go. If you are asked to come, you can come. An ugly daughter-in-law has to meet her parents-in-law. Jiang Bai dragged Fanglinger to the restaurant without saying anything. Sit down. Don't be so nervous, just treat it as your own home. Mother Jiang smiled at Fanglinger gently. Husband. Madam. Fanglinger became more and more nervous. I don't know if it was because of the nervousness of subordinates seeing their leaders. Or was she afraid that Jiang's mother would know about her and Jiang Bai? I told you to sit down, so sit down. Jiang Bai pushed Fanglinger down on the chair. Then he sat down next to Fanglinger. Fanglinger looked at Jiang Bai's figure, and felt an inexplicable sense of security in her heart. Come and try it, this is a steak made from wild yaks. Jiang Bai thoughtfully put a piece of steak on Fanglinger's plate. Mother Jiang saw it from the side and smiled. After 3 rounds of meals, it gradually came to an end. Fanglinger herself didn't know how she finished the meal. She just felt that she spent the whole meal in tension. You and Mu Shui are going to hold an engagement ceremony soon. I have sent out the invitations. At this critical moment, you called off the engagement. Have you thought about how to explain to the guests? Father Jiang put down the bowl and chopsticks in his hand and asked indifferently. Jiang Bai lowered his head, taking care of the food in front of him, and said indifferently. No need to explain, the ceremony will be held normally. It's nothing more than changing the heroine. Is it the female secretary next to you? Father Jiang looked at Fanglinger and asked. Yes. Why not? President. Fanglinger was stunned in her seat and looked at Jiang Bai in disbelief. Why, you don't want to? Jiang Bai looked at Fanglinger with a normal expression. Fanglinger hesitated. For a moment, she was speechless. The difference between her and Jiang Bai's status was too great, and she suddenly heard that Jiang Bai was going to get engaged to her. The shock in his heart could not be dispelled for a long time. Have you made up your mind? If you want, you can choose any rich girl in the world, and the president's daughter is not impossible. Jiang's father asked solemnly, staring at Jiang Bai. I've made up my mind, I'll marry her. Jiang Bai held Fanglinger's small hand with his big hand and gestured to Jiang's father and mother. Okay. Jiang's father uttered a word without saying anything else. Tick, tick. Tears rolled in Fanglinger's eyes, drowning her whole heart. I'm done eating, I'll go back to my room first. Jiang Bai put down his bowl and chopsticks, took Fanglinger out of the restaurant and walked back to his room. As Jiang's father said, with the financial resources of their Jiang family, he can choose any famous girl in the world, and they are eager to marry into the Jiang family. He can even force Mu Shui to marry him, thereby robbing Yi Qian of his protagonist's luck. But that is not what he wants. When he was reading the novel, he felt particularly sympathetic to Fanglinger's experience. A girl who gave her whole heart to Jiang Bai, but in the end, she didn't even get a "I love you." President. I really don't deserve you, you should have a better choice. In the room, Fangling said after hesitating again and again. Why, you don't want to? Jiang Bai's face suddenly turned cold. No. No. Fanglinger waved her hands and said, President, I'd love to marry you. It's just that the gap between our identities is too big. Jiang Bai reached out and hugged Fanglinger into his arms, saying money is actually just a number. I'm not interested in money. What I dislike most is money. Fanglinger's mouth twitched. Leaning quietly in Jiang Bai's arms. Time passed by minute by minute. The sky gradually darkened. Jiang Bai glanced at Fanglinger, who was sleeping in his arms, and gently moved his body. Then he strode out of the room. Are you ready to go find Tang Long? Do you need my help? Jiang's father asked as he sat on the sofa. No, I can do it myself. Wait, there is one thing I really need your help with. Jiang Bai took back the steps he was about to take. Chapter 8 Confrontation with Tang Long. I need you to send someone to find a student named Tang Yu. She is Tang Long's illegitimate daughter, and she has a USB flash drive that records Tang Long's crimes. Where is she? Jiang's father put down the book in his hand and asked. Julongwen Community, Building 11, 302. After Jiang Bai finished speaking, he turned and walked out of the villa. Outside, our Fu had been waiting for a long time. Let's go see Tang Long. Jiang Bai sat on the little golden man and went straight to the bar yesterday. He hurried along the way. The little golden man stopped at the door of the bar. The bar at this time was completely different from last night. There was no car in front of the door, and the lights of the surrounding shops were all off. Even on the whole street, it was difficult to see a car passing by. Young Master Jiang, something is not right here. Our Fu said with a serious face. I know. Jiang Bai turned his head and said to the driver, remember, no matter who asks you to move the car later, don't move the car. Don't worry, Mr. Jiang, I understand this. The driver replied seriously. Okay. Jiang Bai nodded and said to our Fu. Our Fu, let's go meet this underground emperor of Linhai City. The two pushed open the door of the bar and walked straight in. Inside the bar, there was a guard every 3 steps and a sentry every 5 steps. Both sides of the aisle were full of Tang Long's bodyguards. A bodyguard stretched out his hand to stop Jiang Bai and said, Mr. Jiang, please wait a moment, we need to do a routine check. Beep beep. The bodyguard scanned Jiang Bai and our Fu. After confirming that there were no dangerous items on the two, he made a gesture to the two and said, follow me. Tang Long's original name was Tang Yaogang. 20 or 30 years ago, his name made countless people tremble. As time goes by, this vicious and evil man could not resist the aging. Jiang Bai took our Fu to the depths of the bar. A white-haired old man sat in his seat last night. Mr. Tang, the person is here. The bodyguard bowed respectfully and then stood aside. Tang Long closed his eyes tightly, did not reply, and did not look at Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai looked around and saw that there was no seat for him. He smiled slightly. Our Fu, help me move a chair. This man is a little confused when he gets old. He doesn't even know the most basic way of hospitality. You? Tang Long's bodyguard heard Jiang Bai's sarcastic words and immediately stepped forward. Our Fu was not to be outdone. He stepped forward to protect Jiang Bai behind him and stared at the bodyguards with unfriendly eyes. Afu, don't worry about them. You have to remember that a biting dog doesn't bark. Go help me move the chair. Jiang Bai looked at Tang Long with a playful look. HMPH. Afu snorted coldly, turned around and moved a chair and placed it behind Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai sat on it and closed his eyes like Tang Long. The atmosphere fell into silence for a while. Tang Long didn't speak, and Jiang Bai was not in a hurry. With his physical condition after adding some points, he could go without sleep for 3 days. He didn't believe that Tang Long, who was in his 60s or 70s, could resist sleepiness. Time passed bit by bit. Finally, Tang Long couldn't hold his temper anymore. He opened his eyes and stared at Jiang Bai. He said slowly, young Master Jiang is really courageous. You smashed my place yesterday, and you dare to show up in front of me tonight. Jiang Bai shrugged lightly and smiled, Mr. Tang, you are too kind. You are still strong and healthy. I just thought you couldn't resist the sleepiness and fell asleep. Boy, be careful when you talk to me. A man with tattoos next to Tang Long couldn't help but warn him. Mr. Tang, your people seem to be overstepping their authority. Jiang Bai looked directly at Tang Long. Tang Long waved his hand to interrupt the man with tattoos. At this moment, he put away his contempt for Jiang Bai. Through a few short words, he realized that Jiang Bai was more difficult to deal with than he thought. It's good to be young. When I was young, I was just like you. I was fearless and brave. That's why I have the status I have today. Here, I want to give young Master Jiang some advice. It's good to be hot-tempered when young, but excessive hot tempering will lead to disaster. Tang Long looked at Jiang Bai with a fierce look in his eyes. Jiang Bai smiled slightly and said disapprovingly, then I thank Mr. Tang for reminding me. However, if young people are not hot-tempered, can they still be called young people? If Mr. Tang had been a little more timid, he would have been hacked to death on the street. There would be no glory today. He. Tang Long sneered and touched his nose. People who are familiar with him know that this is a sign before he gets angry. Mr. Tang, do you think I'm right? Jiang Bai asked urgently. Yes, what Master Jiang said is very right. But I have eaten more salt than you have eaten rice. I just want to kindly remind you. There are always people who are better than you. If you offend someone you shouldn't offend, Jiang's will probably go bankrupt soon. Does this include you, Mr. Tang? Jiang Bai said with a half smile. He didn't give Tang Long any face at all. Har har har. Tang Long laughed heartily. Interesting, very interesting. I haven't met such an interesting young man as Mr. Jiang in many years. No. 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 Jiang Bai shook his head, put the documents of the development project on the table, and said solemnly, Mr. Tang, you don't want to meet me at all, because I'm here to collect debts. These are the documents of the development project you are responsible for. Today, I'll put it here. I hope you can return it to me after signing. After saying that, Jiang Bai stood up and left without waiting for Tang Long to talk. Just after walking out a few steps, Jiang Bai paused and turned his head and said, By the way, I also want to remind Mr. Tang. There are people beyond people, and there are heavens beyond heavens. Some people are not something you can offend. You. The man with tattooed arms was furious when he saw Jiang Bai being so arrogant. Looking at Jiang Bai's back, Tang Long narrowed his eyes and said in a dignified manner, Young Master Jiang, you smashed my place yesterday and threatened me today. Do you really think I'm a vegetable market, where you can come and go as you please? Several bodyguards in front heard this and stretched out their hands to block Jiang Bai's way. Jiang Bai turned his head and smiled contemptuously, Fu. Understood, young Master Jiang. Fu stepped forward, stretched out his hands to grab the wrists of the two bodyguards, and there was a click. The two bodyguards let out a painful roar. The rest of the bodyguards immediately attacked Fu. Popular mountain beating. Tiger beating style. Elephant fist. Elephant kick. Although Fu could never beat Jackie Chan in movies and TV shows, he was more than enough to deal with Tang Long's bodyguards. In less than a moment, a group of bodyguards were lying on the ground. Mr. Tang, the strength of your bodyguards is not good enough. Jiang Bai smiled contemptuously and walked out of the bar. Stop, if you take another step forward, don't blame me for shooting. The voice of the man with tattoos came from behind. Jiang Bai looked back. The man with tattoos was holding a pistol, with the muzzle pointed directly at him. Chapter 9. If the young man is not energetic, what do you need him for? He. The smile on Jiang Bai's face disappeared in an instant. He turned around and walked towards the man with tattoos without fear. He stopped until he walked in front of the man with tattoos, and said murderously, Shoot, and let me see. Once the gunshot is heard, all of you here will die, including your family. Mr. Tang, am I right? Jiang Bai looked at Tang Long with a normal expression, and his words revealed an extreme threat. Flower man, put your gun away. Tang Long said without question. The flower-armed man looked at Tang Long unwittingly, Boss. I told you to put your gun away. Tang Long shouted with some anger. Yes, boss. The flower-armed man reluctantly put his gun away. With a snap, Jiang Bai slapped him in the face and said disdainfully, If you don't have the courage to shoot, why do you hold a gun? You. The flower-armed man subconsciously wanted to draw his gun, but was glared back by Tang Long. Fu, let's go. Looking at the figures of Jiang Bai and the others, a murderous intent flashed in Tang Long's eyes. After Jiang Bai and the other two had completely left, the man with the flowered arms asked in confusion. Boss, this guy insulted you so much, why didn't you let me shoot? Tang Long glanced at the man with the flowered arms and said expressionlessly, You can't shoot. Jiang Bai is the only son of the Jiang family. If you shoot him, it will completely ignite the Jiang family's anger. The anger of a world-class family is not something we can bear now. Some things need to be considered in the long run. Tang Long said, took out his mobile phone and called Mu Ben. Old Mu, maybe we should restrain ourselves. Restrain? Mu Ben sneered on the phone. We don't need to restrain ourselves. I have contacted the leader of the world's top mercenary group, the Bingshan Camp. Bingshan Camp? Tang Long exclaimed, and the hand holding the mobile phone began to tremble. He asked in disbelief, Old Mu, are you talking about the legendary Bing Shenying? That's right. Mu Ben looked at Yi Qian who was sitting in front of him and said proudly. Marshal Yi, you must be tired. Let me give you a massage to relax you. Mu Shui said attentively. Stretching out her hands and placing them on Yi Qian's shoulders, she gently massaged Yi Qian. Different from the disgusted look she gave Jiang Bai. Mu Shui looked at Yi Qian with admiration in her eyes. She was deeply attracted by Yi Qian's figure when he was fighting. She had never seen such a handsome man. Yi Qian enjoyed Mu Shui's massage. He said confidently, Don't worry, I will help you solve the problem between you and Jiang Bai. Chairman, this is what you want. At Jiang's house, a man in black put an iPad in front of Jiang's father. A video was playing on the iPad. It was the fight between Jiang Bai and Tang Long in the bar. Even Jiang Bai didn't know that his every move was in the eyes of Jiang's father. Every move is too radical, it's a bit risky. Jiang's father turned off the video and said to himself. Is Dong. Chairman. President okay? Feinlinger sat upright and asked nervously. It's okay. Tang Long doesn't dare to touch my Jiang's heir. How about you, how many years have you been with Jiang Bai? Jiang's father turned his head and asked back. 7 years. 7 years. Feinlinger replied restrainedly. 7 years. Jiang's father looked up at the ceiling, wondering what he was thinking. Time passed in a quiet atmosphere. Feinlinger sat aside and didn't dare to breathe. After a while, Jiang's father suddenly said, as long as you are willing, I will hold an engagement ceremony for you and Jiang Bai in a week. There is a saying that is right. When power reaches a certain peak, marriage can no longer change anything. Feinlinger was shocked when she heard it, and looked at Jiang's father in disbelief. Dong. Chairman. I am not worthy of the president. Jiang's father waved his hand. Just tell me if you are willing to marry Jiang Bai and step into the door of our Jiang family. Tick. Feinlinger's tears finally couldn't be held back, dripping from her eyes to her legs. She reached out to cover her mouth and nodded gently, I am willing. At this moment, her excitement reached its peak. She felt that she was about to faint from excitement. Boom. Jiang Bai opened the door and walked in. Looking at the crying Feinlinger, he asked in confusion. Why are you crying? Did the old fox bully you? After hearing this, Jiang's father glanced at Jiang Bai and said unhappily. You're already protecting me before we get married. I've decided to hold an engagement ceremony for you in a week. Really? Jiang Bai looked delighted. Really, go to the company tomorrow to hand over your work and prepare for the ceremony. After Jiang's father finished speaking, he turned and walked towards his room. That's great. Jiang Bai was so delighted that he kissed Feinlinger without saying anything. When reading the novel, he particularly liked the character of Feinlinger. It's like many netizens wanted to replace Yin Jiping. President. CEO. Feinlinger lowered her head shyly. Call me, husband. Jiang Bai picked up Feinlinger and walked into the room. Then a burst of joy rang out. The next morning, Jiang Bai took Feinlinger downstairs refreshed. Father Jiang had been waiting in the restaurant for a long time, looking at the two and said, Get up, then come down to eat. Okay. Jiang Bai just sat down with Feinlinger, and Father Jiang suddenly asked, What do you think of Tang Long? Although the tiger is fierce, it is old. Jiang Bai said without thinking. If he is not old, do you think you can come back safely with what you said yesterday? Tang Long is right, it is not a good thing to be too young and vigorous. Father Jiang said earnestly. There is no lack of concern for Jiang Bai in his words. Jiang Bai felt warm in his heart, and smiled slightly. Old fox, I also have something to tell you, that is. If young people are not vigorous, what do they need to be young? The table fell into silence. The two were silent. Feinlinger dared not say a word. After breakfast, Jiang Bai pulled Feinlinger out of the villa. The office building of Jiang Group. It is the most iconic building in the area. The entire building is 66 stories high. At 9 o'clock in the morning, thousands of white-collar workers started working in the office building. A short-haired girl looked around and saw that no leader noticed, so she whispered to her colleagues around her. Hey, have you heard about it? At 7 o'clock, the chairman asked General Manager Li to act as General Manager Jiang's work. We know. General Manager Li has notified the employees in the group. The surrounding colleagues said calmly. Then do you know why? The short-haired girl asked immediately. Why? The colleagues showed curious expressions. Let me tell you. The short-haired girl looked around again and whispered. In the morning, I occasionally heard Mr. Li calling. It seems that it was because Mr. Jiang was going to get engaged. Engagement? Colleagues around were even more curious. A long-haired girl said, Is Mr. Jiang finally going to get engaged to Miss Mu? But I heard that Miss Mu doesn't like Mr. Jiang, right? Chapter 10 Clown. No. No. The short-haired girl shook her head and said shockingly, I'm not engaged to Mu Shui, but to Secretary Fang. Secretary Fang. The colleagues exclaimed, all in shock. They never thought it would be Fang Linger. This is a phoenix that has risen to prominence in one fell swoop. Why? Why does Secretary Fang get engaged to Mr. Jiang? Isn't she just a secretary? In terms of family background and conditions, how can she compare to Miss Mu? A series of sarcastic and mean words rang out. The colleagues looked over. A woman with 3 points of appearance and 7 points of makeup stood not far behind them. The woman was cursing non-stop. Compared to family background, Fang Linger is just an orphan. In terms of education, Fang Linger graduated from a third-rate university. Isn't she just relying on her capital to flirt in front of President Jiang? She is a complete slut, a bitch, and a slut. After hearing this, the short-haired girl couldn't help but whisper to the female colleague next to her. President Jiang is getting engaged, President Wang shouldn't be so excited, right? Sure. The female colleague shushed. She looked up at President Wang, and seeing that President Wang didn't notice, she whispered. You are new here, don't you know, President Wang is Miss Mu's man. I usually take a lot of benefits from Miss Mu, so I am so excited. Oh. The short-haired girl suddenly realized, and said, it turns out to be a lackey. Who do you say is a lackey? At some point, President Wang came behind the short-haired girl. The short-haired girl was immediately startled and quickly stood up from her workstation. He lowered his head and stammered, Wang. Mr. Wang. You? What do you mean you? I tell you, you are fired. Pack your things now and get out of here. Mr. Wang pointed at the girl and said arrogantly. Mr. Wang, I didn't make any mistakes. Why do you fire me? The short-haired girl asked with courage. Because I am the leader and you are an employee. In this company, I can fire anyone I want, for no reason. Mr. Wang was so arrogant that his nose seemed to be raised to the ceiling. What a big tone, is this company opened by your family? Jiang Bai walked in from outside with Fang Linger. He heard Mr. Wang's insults just now clearly. He felt unhappy. Mr. Jiang, Secretary Fang. The employees greeted Jiang Bai one after another. Boss Jiang, you're just in time. Fire this employee as soon as possible. Boss Wang said in an imperative tone. Why? Jiang Bai looked at Boss Wang with a half smile. No reason. If you don't fire this employee, I'll call Miss Mu. Boss Jiang, you should know the consequences of angering Miss Mu. Boss Wang threatened arrogantly. He didn't hold back because Jiang Bai was the president. Okay, then fire him. Jiang Bai said lightly. After hearing this, the short-haired girl felt as if she had died, and she quietly packed up her things. Boss Wen showed a smug smile on his face. This was the consequence of offending her. She had the final say in the entire Jiang group. Even Jiang Bai had to listen to her. Boss Jiang, I'm leaving. The short-haired girl packed up her things and said goodbye reluctantly. She worked hard for a long time to be accepted for this job. I was fired just because of a sentence, and I felt very uncomfortable. I took my belongings and walked out silently. When passing by Jiang Bai suddenly reached out and grabbed the short-haired girl, saying, You are wrong, I fired her instead of you. Jiang Bai pointed at Mr. Wang, and all the employees around him were stunned. Fire me? Mr. Wang asked in disbelief. Then a sneer appeared on his face. Mr. Jiang, you are not mistaken, are you going to fire me? Yes, it's you, I said it very clearly. Jiang Bai said. He. Mr. Wang sneered twice, confidently saying. Mr. Jiang, I am Miss Mu's man. If you fire me, aren't you afraid of offending Miss Mu? Jiang Bai looked at Mr. Wang as if he were a fool, and said coldly. I don't want to say it a second time, now pack up your things and get out of here. Mr. Wang saw the gloating expressions of the surrounding employees, and his face suddenly felt ashamed. He said angrily, Mr. Jiang, you have to think clearly. Mr. Mu's anger is not so easy to calm down. I'll count to 3. If you are still in my sight, I will call security. Jiang Bai stretched out a finger and counted softly. 1. Okay, you are very good. Mr. Wang took out his mobile phone on the spot and called Mu Shui. Beep. After 2 beeps, The call was connected. Mu Shue's voice came from the phone. Xiao Wang, what are you calling me about? Mr. Wang changed to a flattering tone and said to the phone. Mr. Mu, you must make the decision for me. Mr. Jiang wants to fire me. Fire you? On the other side of the phone, Mu Shue was lying on the bed with a slight frown. He said to the phone, give the phone to Jiang Bai. Here, Mr. Mu's phone. Mr. Wang handed the phone to Jiang Bai arrogantly. He seemed to have seen the scene of Jiang Bai being humble on the phone. Hello, what's the matter? Jiang Bai took the phone and said calmly. Jiang Bai, do you know that Mr. Wang is my man? Mu Shue's voice sounded on the phone. I know, and then what? Jiang Bai said. You know, and you still dare to fire her. I'm informing you now, you are not allowed to fire Mr. Wang. Mu Shue said proudly. I fired my own employees, what does it have to do with you? Who do you think you are? The head of Jiang's. Jiang Bai retorted unceremoniously. With a beep. He hung up the phone directly. Listening to the beep in the phone, Mu Shue put down the phone angrily. She felt that Jiang Bai had changed in the past few days. In the past. When she called him, Jiang Bai didn't even dare to breathe. He listened to her words and did them without hesitation. Now he dared to refute him and hung up the phone. It's all Fang Linger's fault, that damn bitch. Mu Shue said indignantly. What's wrong, Shue? Is Jiang Bai bothering you again? Don't worry, when I gain a foothold in Linhai City, I will definitely help you get rid of the Jiang family's entanglement. Yi Qian said on the side, with a gleam of light in his eyes from time to time. Hum. Mu Shue hummed softly, almost making Yi Qian unable to hold back. Security, kick this Mr. Wang out. In the Jiang's office building, Jiang Bai said expressionlessly. Mr. Jiang, you are finished. You dare to hang up Miss Mu's phone. I tell you, if you dare to fire me today, Miss Mu will never let you go. Mr. Wang shouted unreasonably. The colleagues around him rolled their eyes. Just now they heard that Jiang Bai was about to get engaged to Fang Linger. It's useless to mention Mu Shue at this time. Security, kick him out. After Jiang Bai finished speaking, he no longer paid attention to Mr. Wang and walked towards the office with Fang Linger. Mr. Wang's existence was of no use to Jiang. If he hadn't met him by chance today, he would never have looked at such a small character. Mr. Jiang, you wait for me. Mr. Wang yelled as the security guard drove him away. Chapter 11 Clothes Purchase Controversy. Check if she did anything during her time at the company. If so, sue her and send her to pick up the soap. As Jiang Bai's voice fell, Mr. Wang fell to the ground with a plop. During her work, she relied on Mu Shue's support and no one dared to stop her. She did a lot of small things in private. There were countless cases of misappropriation of public funds, disclosure of company secrets, and corruption and bribery. Mr. Jiang, let me go. Mr. Wang cried and shouted. At this moment, she was completely panicked. Where was the arrogant and domineering attitude before? Unfortunately, Jiang Bai could no longer hear her voice. Jiang Bai took Fang Linger and walked to his office. The employees around were overjoyed to see Mr. Wang fired, and whispered. This gossipy woman was finally fired, it's really a relief. Yeah, relying on Mu Shue's support, did she really think this company belonged to her? Now it's good, Mu Shue was dumped by Mr. Jiang. And she will probably spend her next life in prison. This is called doing too much evil and then killing oneself. In the office, a middle-aged man wearing glasses was sitting on the sofa waiting for Jiang Bai. Seeing Jiang Bai push the door in, the middle-aged man stood up and stretched out his hand. Hello, Mr. Jiang, hello, Secretary Fang. Hello, Mr. Li, please sit down. Jiang Bai sat on the sofa with Mr. Li and started talking. Mr. Li, since you have received the notice, I will make it short. For the next period of time, due to some personal matters of mine, the position of general manager will be temporarily taken over by you, Mr. Li. If there is anything you can't decide, please call me at any time. I understand, Mr. Jiang. Mr. Li stood up, shook hands with Jiang Bai, and turned to leave. After Mr. Li left, Jiang Bai cast his eyes on Fang Linger. Fang Linger was puzzled and asked, President, is there something on my face? Nothing. But have you heard a saying? Jiang Bai said with a smirk. What is it? Fang Linger asked in confusion. Secretary to do when there is work, secretary to do when there is nothing. Amid Fang Linger's exclamation, Jiang Bai picked her up and put her on the desk. Then there was a swish sound. President. CEO, you tore my stockings, how do you let me wear them? Afterwards, Fang Linger said helplessly. Then I won't wear them. I see that the clothes you are wearing are all old styles from the past 2 years. Come on, I'll go with you to sell some new styles. Jiang Bai didn't say anything and pulled Fang Linger out. As for whether he would be considered absent from work, he was the boss and he had the final say. Come out, President Jiang is out. When the shop-eyed employees saw Jiang Bai, they immediately pretended to work hard. Jiang Bai coughed lightly and said, you guys work hard, Secretary Fang and I will go out for a while. If there is anything, go to President Li. After that, Jiang Bai pulled Fang Linger away. After they left, all the employees started talking again. Did you notice that the stockings on Secretary Fang's legs are gone? What do you think a boss and a secretary can do? I wish I were young and rich like President Jiang. A young employee said with longing. A house is not built in a short time, young people should work hard. The old employee patted the young employee on the shoulder and continued to work hard. Commercial Street. Fang Linger stood at the door of a shop with a giant panda logo and asked uncertainly. President, why don't we go to another place? The clothes here are so expensive. What's expensive? In my eyes, there is nothing expensive. Jiang Bai waved his hand domineeringly and pulled Fang Linger into the shop. As soon as he entered, Jiang Bai was attracted by a purple cheongsam in front of him. Pointing at the cheongsam, he said to the salesperson, take this cheongsam down. I want it. The salesperson saw that Jiang Bai was dressed in a rich and noble way, so he didn't dare to delay. He quickly took off the cheongsam and handed it to Jiang Bai, saying, Sir, please check out first and try it on. Okay. Jiang Bai threw the cheongsam to Fang Linger and said, you go change, I'll check out. Fang Linger took the cheongsam and walked to the fitting room. Jiang Bai followed the salesperson to the cashier. In the salesperson's expectant eyes, Jiang Bai took out a gold card. A beep sounded. A reminder sounded at the cashier, boss card. Boss. The salesperson and the cashier looked at Jiang Bai in shock. They could never have imagined that the boss, who had never shown his face, was so young. Jiang Bai turned his head to look at the fitting room, and seeing Fang Linger didn't come out, he said to the two of them. You must keep it a secret for me, I opened this store secretly. Yeah. The cashier and the shopping guide nodded silently. Time passed not long. Fang Linger, wearing a purple cheongsam, walked out of the fitting room. Walking along, she attracted the attention of many men in the store. President, does it look good? Fang Linger turned around and said. It looks good, very good. Jiang Bai's eyes couldn't help but be obsessed. Fang Linger, wearing a cheongsam, exuded a sense of nobility. The combination of nobility and her perfect figure gave people a feeling of being unable to stop. It made people feel in awe, and they wanted to pounce on her on the spot. Gulp. Jiang Bai swallowed his saliva unconsciously. In order to cover up his own gaffe, Jiang Bai immediately said. Shopping guide, give me all the colors of this cheongsam. Okay, sir, I'll charge you 7 million in total. The shopping guide said very cooperatively. How much? Fang Linger couldn't believe her ears. The shopping guide smiled at Fang Linger and said. Madam, this cheongsam is divided into 7 colors. 1 million for one color, 7 sets for a total of 7 million. Fang Linger hurriedly pulled Jiang Bai's clothes and said, President. I don't want it, it's too expensive. She only had 100,000 yuan on her body. She couldn't even afford 1/10 of this dress. If you like it, just sell it. What's a mere 7 million? Jiang Bai waved his hand nonchalantly and walked towards the cashier again. Just then, a middle-aged man with a big head and thick neck and a gold necklace came to Fang Linger. He extended his hand to Fang Linger and said with a good feeling. This beautiful lady, may I meet you? Fang Linger subconsciously took a step back, looked at the man warily and shook her head, saying. Sorry, I have a boyfriend. Oh. The man looked at Jiang Bai who was checking out. Seeing that Jiang Bai was dressed well, he was about to stop. A middle-aged woman with heavy makeup rushed into the store angrily, pointed at Fang Linger without knowing whether she was right or wrong, and cursed loudly. Okay, it turns out that you are the vixen who seduced my husband. Now let me catch you red-handed. Everyone, come and see, there is a shameless vixen. The middle-aged woman's loud curse aroused the nature of the Z people. All of a sudden, everyone in the store surrounded them. Chapter 12, Avilders will be punished by their own avilders. No wonder you dress like this, you are a vixen, who seduce other people's husbands. Several wealthy wives around saw Fang Linger's good looks and figure, and they were jealous and said sourly. I didn't, don't talk nonsense. Fang Linger retorted with a look of grievance. She came to buy clothes, why do you say she is a vixen? You still say no. I saw you seducing my husband just now. Otherwise, who would you dress like this for? The middle-aged woman poked and forced people. The eyes were wide open, staring at Fang Linger viciously. I wished that Fang Linger would be eaten alive. Women love jealousy and comparison the most. Especially wealthy women. They saw that Fang Linger's figure and appearance were better than theirs. A strong sense of jealousy rose in her heart, and she said sarcastically. That's right, that's right. Why do you have to be someone's mistress when there are so many things to do? It's probably because your family is too poor, and you want to experience the life of the rich. After all, not everyone is like us, born with a silver spoon in their mouths. People's fate is determined by heaven, but it's a pity that you have such a good skin. The middle-aged man saw that the quarrel was getting bigger and bigger, so he quickly grabbed the woman and said with a bitter smile. Wife, you misunderstood. This lady and I don't know each other. Par. The woman turned around and slapped the man, saying arrogantly. You don't know her, why did you walk into this women's clothing store? The man covered his face and hesitated. He wanted to say that he came in to chat with Fang Linger because he saw that she was beautiful. But saying this undoubtedly confirmed his intention to flirt with other women. Looking at the fierce woman, the man was terrified. Just shut up and say nothing. Let the woman act like a spoiled child here. Anyway, this kind of thing has happened more than once or twice. Finally, relying on his relationship, he could suppress it. You don't say anything, so you agree. The woman saw the man shut up and said nothing. She was furious and turned to Fang Linger. She yelled, I asked you to seduce my husband. Today, I will strip you naked and let everyone see the consequences of being a mistress. I think you misunderstood. Your husband and I really don't know each other. Fang Linger took a step back and looked a little unfriendly. Anyone who is falsely accused will be angry. The woman was even more furious when she heard Fang Linger's quibbling. She stretched out her hand and tore Fang Linger, saying viciously, You still dare to quibble. You dare to be a mistress, but you dare not admit it, right? I'll tell you today that being a mistress will cost you. With a tearing sound, Fang Linger's cheongsam was torn to pieces, revealing her shoulders. The women around her looked at Fang Linger with gloating. The rich circle in Lin Hai City is so small. They basically know all the rich wives. But Fang Linger was not among the familiar faces. Just as the women were about to continue, Jiang Bai's cold voice sounded. You, try to touch her again. Jiang Bai came to Fang Linger with another 6 kyeongsams. Looking at Fang Linger with a face full of grievances, he felt distressed. President. Fang Linger finally couldn't hold back her grievances and threw herself into Jiang Bai's arms and cried bitterly. Tears wet Jiang Bai's chest. The man saw Jiang Bai coming and quickly explained. Misunderstanding, misunderstanding. It's just a misunderstanding. Jiang Bai looked at the man with a cold face and said coldly. You bullied my fiancé so badly, it's a misunderstanding. What do you want? The middle-aged woman said arrogantly, without any attitude of admitting her mistakes. She knew she had misunderstood. But she was used to being domineering and didn't take Jiang Bai seriously. Apologize to my fiancé and get her forgiveness. Jiang Bai didn't allow any rebuttal. Let me apologize to her. The woman smiled disdainfully and looked at Jiang Bai with contempt. Go and ask when I, Wang Xiufan, have apologized to anyone. Thinking of her, Wang Xiufan, who is famous for being fierce in Lin Hai City, she has never apologized to anyone. Now asking her to apologize to a little girl is simply a foolish dream. I'll say it again, apologize to my fiancé. Jiang Bai's face became colder and colder. You want me to apologize? No way. Wang Xiufan said with her hands on her hips. Brother, this is just a small misunderstanding, just apologize. The man stepped forward to persuade. Isn't it just a few scoldings of the mistress and tearing a piece of clothing? What's the big deal? Wang Xiufang said disapprovingly. Her words made Jiang Bai even angrier. In front of everyone, he took out his mobile phone and called the police. Hello, is this Officer Wu? I'm Jiang Bai, I want to call the police, at the giant panda clothing store. It's easy to deal with these unreasonable people, just call the police uncle. Let the police uncle teach her how to be a person. Call the police. Seeing this, Wang Xiufang's face became more contemptuous. The man also looked at Jiang Bai calmly. Although Jinggang is not one of the most important people in Linhai City, he still has some connections in the police station. He doesn't care about just a few policemen. Fine, fine. Jiang Bai didn't wait long. Several police cars stopped at the door. A resolute policeman walked into the store with several policemen. Jinggang put on a smile when he saw the leading policeman and said enthusiastically, Officer Wu, it's just a small misunderstanding. Why do you bother me? Officer Wu didn't even look at Jinggang, and strode towards Jiang Bai and asked, Mr. Jiang, what happened? Jiang Bai pointed at Jinggang and Wang Xiufang and recounted the cause and effect. After hearing this, Officer Wu nodded in understanding and said, Young Master Jiang, you want to sue them for assaulting others at will, maliciously damaging others' reputation, and damaging the clothes you just bought, right? Yes, my clothes are worth 1 million. Jiang Bai said bluntly. Okay, I understand. Officer Wu turned around and looked at Jinggang and Wang Xiufang, and said seriously. Now someone has called the police to accuse you, please come with me. Jinggang came forward and said to Officer Wu. Officer Wu, it's me, I'm Jinggang. We had dinner together before. Officer Wu didn't even look at Jinggang, and said solemnly. I don't care if you are Jinggang, Wanggang, or Li Gang, come with me now. If what the accuser said is true, you will face a fixed-term imprisonment of less than 3 years. It's over. Jinggang saw that Chief Wu was doing his job impartially. He immediately understood that he had offended someone he shouldn't have offended. I won't go. Wang Xiufang waved her hand, not taking Officer Wu seriously at all, and said recklessly. Mr. Wu, our old Jing knows your director. If you dare to arrest me, I will let old Jing call your director and make things difficult for you. Par. Jinggang turned his head and slapped Wang Xiufang in the face. It's all your fault, you bitch. Wang Xiufang stood there in a daze. She had never thought that Jinggang would dare to hit him, and she was a little confused for a moment. Brother, you see this is just a misunderstanding. Can Officer Wu go back first? Jinggang begged Jiang Bai for mercy in a low voice. At this moment, he dared not look down on Jiang Bai anymore. Jiang Bai said to Officer Wu without even looking at Jinggang. Officer Wu, I will arrange for our company's lawyer to follow up on this matter. Officer Wu understood Jiang Bai's meaning, that he was not going to let Jinggang go, and waved his hand. Take them away. Several policemen escorted Jinggang and Wang Xiufang out of the store. Let me go. Mr. Wu, I will report you to your director. And you, Jinggang, if you dare to hit me, I will never let you go. Wang Xiufang struggled violently and cursed loudly. Officer Wu nodded at Jiang Bai and turned to leave. After the police took Wang Chunfang and the others away. The wealthy ladies around saw that there was nothing exciting to watch, so they turned around and left. Jiang Bai pointed at the figures of several ladies and said in a bad tone. You, and you, did I let you go? Why, little brother wants to treat us to a meal. A girl asked in a cute way. Chapter 13 Yi Qian's layout. Will you eat the prison food? Jiang Bai raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth. I remember that you were the ones who cursed the most just now, right? Don't you claim to be born with a golden key? Go back and tell your family that I will give them a day to prepare. 1 day later, Jiang Group will officially acquire their company. By the way, my name is Jiang Bai. After Jiang Bai finished speaking, he hugged Fang Linger and left. After their backs disappeared, a yellow-haired rich lady curled her lips disdainfully. Acquire our company. Who do you think you are? The name Jiang Bai sounds so familiar. Another rich lady muttered to herself. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration flashed through the rich lady's mind. The whole person was stunned in the place for a moment. She remembered who Jiang Bai was, and trembled, Jiang Bai, the heir of Jiang Group. With a plop, the rich lady's feet softened, and she fell directly to the ground, her eyes dull. It's over. It's over now. How did I offend this person? The heir of Jiang Group. But that Jiang. All the rich ladies in the store were shocked and panicked. They knew they were in trouble. They called their families anxiously. In the police car, Zheng Gang asked flatteringly, "Officer Wu, where did that young man come from? Why did I call the police and alarm you? The only son of Jiang Group. Jiang Bai." Officer Wu replied indifferently. Plop. Zheng Long's eyes went dark, and he fainted on the seat instantly. Old Zheng, don't scare me." Wang Xiufang shook Zheng Gang's body anxiously. At this moment, she finally realized that she had made trouble. Little did she know that she was about to be sentenced to 3 years in prison. President. I'm sorry. Fang Linga lowered her head and said pitifully on the little golden man. Jiang Bai shrugged and said indifferently, "You didn't do anything wrong, you don't need to apologize to me. Life is like this, there are always some misunderstandings because of some beautiful things." Fang Linga subconsciously leaned her head on Jiang Bai's shoulder. At this moment, her heart was full of warmth. Ding-a-ling. A phone rang. Jiang Bai took out his mobile phone and saw that it was Mr. Li calling. "Hello, Mr. Li, what's the matter?" "Mr. Jiang, something happened." Mr. Li's anxious voice came from the phone. "What's the matter?" Jiang Bai frowned and had a bad feeling in his heart. The development project we were responsible for before was reported for violent demolition. "Where is Yalan community?" Jiang Bai asked urgently. He remembered that in the original novel, Yalan community was the first time the original owner was cheated. It was this time that caused the reputation of Jiang Group to decline rapidly. The original owner was exposed to the eyes of many bigwigs. "Turn around, let's go to Yalan community," Jiang Bai said anxiously. Yalan community is a high-end community. In order to invest in this community, Jiang Group has invested nearly 2 billion yuan. Everything went smoothly in the previous development. But when the last building was demolished, a huge problem was encountered. The last building was occupied by the families of soldiers who died for the country. They did not agree to the demolition. In the original novel, when the original owner was solving the problem here, he happened to meet Yi Qian. Under the aura of the protagonist's reduced intelligence, he actually wanted to forcibly demolish the family building in front of countless reporters. His action not only angered the media and netizens, but also angered the top leaders of the country. His reputation plummeted. On the other hand, the protagonist Yi Qian, because he came forward to stop the original owner, won unanimous praise from netizens. "Justice, we want justice." Outside the Yalan community, hundreds of old people and children gathered together, crying helplessly. They wore tattered clothes and sat on the ground alone. What's more, they held black and white photos in their arms. In front of them, countless media stood. "Dear audience friends, I am now in the Yalan community. Today we received a report that the original residents of the Yalan community are facing the problem of violent demolition. Next, let's see what's going on." One reporter after another stood in front of the live broadcast machine and talked endlessly. Yi Qian mixed in the group of reporters, with a sinister smile on his face. He wanted to see how Jiang Bai would solve this matter. This was his first big gift to Jiang Bai. All this was for Mu Shui. "Excuse me, are you really going to demolish the family building of the soldiers who died in the war?" A female reporter found the person in charge of the construction site and said bluntly. The person in charge of the construction site looked at the live broadcast machine in front of him and said solemnly, "Yes, we received a notice from young Master Jiang that we are going to demolish this place." "Excuse me, young Master Jiang refers to Jiang Bai, the first heir of the Jiang family?" The female reporter asked with a smile. No one knew that she and the person in charge of the construction site were in the same group. They were all Yi Qian's men, just to discredit Jiang Bai. "Yes, it's Jiang Bai." The person in charge of the construction site nodded seriously. "Wow." The live broadcast room was instantly in an uproar. Caused countless netizens to curse. Being rich and unkind, the Jiang Group is so rich that it actually demolished the family building of soldiers. Garbage, borers. It is recommended that the country immediately investigate the Jiang family and never let the soldiers down. One sentence after another of condemnation sounded. This video of the female reporter interviewing the person in charge of the construction site was quickly forwarded by major media under Yi Qian's arrangement. Countless netizens joined the camp to attack Jiang's. Garbage, worms. Boycott Jiang's, start with me. From now on, I will never buy anything from Jiang's. In a short period of time, the like rate of this video reached hundreds of millions. Jiang Bai, I have found so many reporters, let's see how you break the situation this time. The sneer on Yi Qian's mouth rose more and more. He just wanted to discredit Jiang's and replace it. In Yi Qian's eyes, how could a mere Jiang Bai be taken seriously by him? He wanted to start by conquering Linhai City, and then conquer the whole country and the world bit by bit. Jiang's was just his first stepping stone. Get justice. You must get justice for us. Someone in the crowd shouted with a sign in his hand. Jiang's is the world's top family. Its every move was watched by countless people. Most people were waiting for Jiang's response with a mentality of watching the fun. Old fox, have you found out what I asked you to find out? On the little golden man, Jiang Bai called Jiang's father and asked slowly. He didn't care about the media reports at all. As a person who was familiar with the plot, how could he not be prepared? He could even imagine Yi Qian's smug face. It's just that how smug Yi Qian is now. In a while, he will make Yi Qian miserable. Laugh, Yi Qian. After this time, you won't be able to laugh anymore. Jiang Bai muttered to himself while sitting in the car. The thorns. While Jiang Bai was thinking, the little golden man stopped at the gate of Yalan community. Accompanied by Fang Linga, Jiang Bai got out of the car slowly, instantly attracting the attention of countless reporters. Yes, the eldest son of the Jiang family. Let's go ask him. Countless reporters ran up and surrounded Jiang Bai. One microphone after another was placed in front of Jiang Bai. The reporters rushed to speak. Young Master Jiang, what do you think about the matter of Yalan community? Young Master Jiang, did you really give the order to demolish the family building? Chapter 14 Violent Demolition. One voice after another entered Jiang Bai's ears. Jiang Bai was so annoyed by the noise that he quickly waved his hands and shouted. Everyone be quiet, one by one. A female reporter rushed over and asked first. Young Master Jiang, I heard that your Jiang family violently demolished the soldiers' family building. Do you have anything to explain about this matter? This is a good question. Jiang Bai looked at the female reporter calmly and said. Before answering this question, I would like to ask this reporter, how much is your monthly salary? This has nothing to do with my question, right? The female reporter said without thinking. Of course it is related. Jiang Bai looked around at the faces of all the reporters present. Looking at the many live broadcast machines in front of him, he said with ease. I would like to ask the netizens in the live broadcast room and everyone present. Will you break the law and kidnap your boss for a salary of 500 yuan? You won't, right? Because the benefits are too small and not proportional to the risks. Similarly, even if the last family building in Yalan community is demolished, the benefits are only 5 million. And our Jiang group has assets of over 1 trillion. Do you think we will do these unscrupulous things for a mere 5 million? After Jiang Bai finished speaking, he paused and observed the faces of the reporters. Seeing that the reporters still looked skeptical, he raised his head proudly and said. Is 5 million a lot? It's not much, it's just the money for a meal and a piece of clothing. How can I take such a small amount of money seriously? I want to ask everyone present, would you break the law for a meal or a piece of clothing? This. All the reporters and netizens in the live broadcast room fell into silence. As Jiang Bai said, 5 million is simply a drop in the bucket for Jiang's family. Could it be that we have wronged Jiang's family? The netizens expressed a unified voice. Fuck, this guy is showing off his wealth invisibly. Some netizens were eating instant noodles and said indignantly in the barrage. Is 5 million a lot? It's not much. In a short period of time, Jiang Bai's appearance of showing off his wealth was made into an emoticon by netizens. Young Master Jiang, you don't admit that you violently demolished their house, right? Another reporter approached and asked. Jiang Bai shrugged lightly, of course. Don't say a mere 5 million, even if it's 5 billion, I, Jiang Bai, won't take it seriously. Hiss. This guy's level of showing off his wealth is so terrifying. All the netizens in front of the live broadcast room took a breath of air. It's so fucking infuriating. Is it still human to say that you don't take 5 billion seriously? It's not that I look down on 5 million, but I have never been interested in money. I always feel that I have nothing. Jiang Bai once again made a shocking statement. The netizens in the live broadcast room and all the reporters present were instantly upset. Look down on 5 million. Not interested in money. Nothing. What a jerk. Young Master Jiang, you don't admit that you violently demolished the house, right? Words are not enough, you need evidence. I didn't do it, why should I admit it? Jiang Bai asked back. According to the confession of the person in charge of the construction site, he started the violent demolition after receiving your order. You explained this matter in this way. The reporter asked. It seemed that Jiang Bai would not be let off. Construction site person in charge? What construction site person in charge? Jiang Bai said with an ignorant face. It is the person in charge of the Yalan community project. The reporter took out his mobile phone and played the video of the interview with the person in charge of the construction site. After the video was played, the reporter continued to ask, Mr. Jiang, what do you think about this matter? I stand and watch. Jiang Bai answered calmly. So, Mr. Jiang, do you admit that you let the person in charge carry out violent demolition? After the female reporter finished speaking, Jiang Bai quickly waved his hand and said, No, I don't know this person. I never ask about investments below 5 billion. A small construction site person in charge, he doesn't even have the qualifications to see me, how can he receive my order? Although Jiang Bai's words were hurtful, they were very straightforward. With Jiang Bai's previous remarks that he was not interested in money, netizens suddenly felt that what Jiang Bai said made some sense. Boss Jiang, have you forgotten that you told me in secret? The person in charge of the construction site squeezed in and shouted. Told you in secret. Jiang Bai looked at the person in charge with a haughty expression and said contemptuously. What is your worth? What is my worth? I earn millions every minute, and you are worthy of me talking to you in secret. Yi Qian hid aside and saw that the situation was turning in Jiang Bai's favor. Finally, he couldn't hold back anymore, jumped out, and shouted loudly. Mr. Jiang, you are rich and unkind, and violently demolished the houses. You are not afraid of disappointing these soldiers who died in the battle, and getting retribution. Yes, I almost let this Mr. Jiang lead me astray. When the reporters saw Yi Qian jumping out, they all pointed the live broadcast machine at Yi Qian and asked. Sir, do you know anything? Yi Qian looked righteous and said indignantly. As a large enterprise, Jiang's has no responsibility at all. For just a few million, they disregarded the families of the dead in the battle and violently demolished the houses. Such evil deeds are really despised by people. Today, I will expose them. In the original book, it was because of Yi Qian's jumping out that the original owner's IQ was lowered. Therefore, a series of brain-dead events were made. Sir, you want to expose Jiang's, do you have evidence in your hand? The female reporter arranged by Yi Qian asked cooperatively. Of course there is. Look, what is this? Yi Qian took out a document with Jiang's official seal on it. What is this? The reporters' live broadcast machines were all aimed at the document. This is the document of Jiang's violent demolition, enough as evidence. Yi Qian vowed. Young Master Jiang, now there are witnesses and evidence, what else do you want to say? The reporters once again cast their eyes on Jiang Bai. Yi Qian's mouth corners rose proudly, looking at Jiang Bai with gloating. He had already thought of the next scene. Jiang Bai sighed and fell silent. Just when all the reporters thought that Jiang Bai could not refute. With a ding, Jiang Bai's cell phone rang. Jiang Bai took out his cell phone and smiled. Pointing at Yi Qian, he said. Everyone, don't be fooled by this person in front of you. I guess you don't know this person's identity. What does this gentleman's identity have to do with your Jiang's violent demolition? Many reporters asked in confusion. Of course it has a connection. Jiang Bai placed his mobile phone in front of all the live broadcasters and said as steady as a rock. The moment this person appeared, I asked someone to check his identity. Guess what? Speaking of this, Jiang Bai paused deliberately. Looking at Yi Qian with a smile. Chapter 15 Violent Demolition. It doesn't exist. After all the reporters showed their expectant eyes, Jiang Bai slowly said, "This person is Yi Shuai, the leader of the notorious mercenary group, Bing Shenying, abroad." Wow. All the reporters and netizens were shocked. Looked at Yi Qian with shocked eyes. Even Yi Qian was shocked. He didn't expect Jiang Bai to be able to see through his identity. After being shocked, Yi Qian changed to an innocent expression and pointed at the families of the dead soldiers. "Young Master Jiang, we are talking about your violent demolition. Please don't change the subject. I know that your Jiang family is big and powerful, and you have connections. I am just a lonely family, and people's words are not important. But the road is not flat, and someone has to stand up. Although I am weak, I am willing to expose your atrocities." At this moment, Yi Qian seemed to turn into light. In the eyes of many netizens and reporters, he was infinitely magnified. Young Master Jiang is talking nonsense. How could the leader of the Bingshan camp appear here? I almost believed young Master Jiang before. I guess the money for every meal he eats is from exploitation. Being rich and unkind, being rich and unkind. The netizens stood on Yi Qian's side without any position. Especially when they saw the families of the soldiers, they looked lonely and helpless. He was even more indignant. Jiang Bai was not in a hurry to do this. He opened a video and played it in front of many live broadcast machines. In the video, Yi Qian and Mu Shui were lying on a bed. Everyone only heard Mu Shui gently say, "Marshal Yi, what will happen to your Bingshan camp after you leave? It's okay. After I overthrow Jiang, I will let them all retire. Then I congratulate Marshal Yi in advance." The scene changed. In the video, Mu Shui stretched out her hand to print an official seal on the document. It is not difficult to see from the video. The document in the video is almost the same as the document in Yi Qian's hand. So netizens and reporters were completely stunned. Looking at the content in the video, they couldn't come back to their senses. If Jiang Bai had no evidence before, then now it can be said that there is solid evidence. He is really Marshal Yi. The seal on the document is also printed by them. Most importantly, did you notice that the woman in the video seems to be the fiancée of young Master Jiang? The fiancée of young Master Jiang was lying on the same bed with the leader of the Bingshan camp. Melon. A shocking melon. All the reporters came back to their senses, and the live broadcast room was madly aimed at Jiang Bai. It turns out that rich people can also be cuckolded. Many netizens looked at Jiang Bai with a green head, and their hearts suddenly balanced. Jiang Bai felt the strange eyes of the reporters, reached out and hugged Fang Linga, and explained, "This is my fiancée, the one in the video has been dumped by me." "I understand, we all understand." The reporters nodded, wanting to laugh but not daring to. At this moment, Jiang Bai was completely popular on the internet. The second-generation rich man who was cuckolded. "Yi Qian, you and Mu Shui forged our company's seal. Now, what else do you want to say?" Jiang Bai looked at Yi Qian with a smile. The mechanical sound of the system came to his ears. Ding dong. Congratulations to their host for plundering the protagonist's luck 5,000. Damn. When? Yi Qian was so angry. He didn't expect Jiang Bai to secretly take pictures of him. The most important thing is that he didn't notice it at all. "Marshal Yi, when I came, the police had already been called. You'd better surrender and prepare to go to the military court. A terrorist like you is not worthy of standing up to accuse others," Jiang Bai said righteously. "Asshole." Yi Qian was so angry. He had carefully designed a plan, and there were still many backups that had not been played out. Who would have thought that Jiang Bai would directly cut off his firewood? His identity was exposed to the public. It's over. It's over. The sirens of police cars came from a distance. Clang. Countless armed police and special police got out of the car and surrounded Yi Qian with guns. Facing Yi Qian, the top soldier, no one dared to take it lightly. "Marshal Yi, come with us." An officer got out of the car and said seriously. Looking at the medals on his shoulders, it was obvious that he was a major. "Hello, Major Bai, Yi Qian is in your hands." Jiang Bai greeted with a smile. Unlike Jiang Bai, facing dozens of guns, Yi Qian raised his hands helplessly. "Let 2 soldiers handcuff him. Take him away," Major Bai said seriously. After Yi Qian was escorted to the car, Major Bai looked at Jiang Bai and said unkindly, "Master Jiang, I heard that you want to violently demolish the family buildings of our soldiers." "No." Jiang Bai waved his hands and said respectfully, "I, Jiang Bai, admire soldiers the most in my life. How could I do such a thing?" In order to increase his persuasiveness, Jiang Bai looked around at the reporters. In front of all the reporters, he raised his right hand and said, "As the president of Jiang Group, I, on behalf of Jiang, guarantee to the people of the country. We, Jiang, will never demolish the family buildings of fallen soldiers. On the contrary, we will help them renovate the buildings. Not only that, their water, electricity, property, and all other expenses are waived by us, Jiang. Okay?" A cheer broke out in the crowd. Major Bai saw Jiang Bai's sincere face and didn't seem to be lying, so he said, "I hope you can do what you said, let's go." Major Bai waved his hand, and the armed police and special police pressed Yi Qian to leave. After they left, the police chief stepped forward and asked seriously, "Jiang Bai, we received a call. It said that you enforce the law violently here. Now tell me what's going on." Jiang Bai's face became serious. "Uncle Police, Yalan Community is a project invested by our Jiang family with 2 billion yuan. This project has always been handed over to the company where President Mu Ben is. Today, it is inexplicably said that our Jiang family demolished it, and I am also puzzled. After all, this project is not the responsibility of our company." As he said, Jiang Bai showed an innocent expression. "Conspiracy, it must be a conspiracy." Such a sentence suddenly popped up in the major live broadcast rooms. Then, before most netizens could react, their whole story was summarized by some netizens. The young lady of the Mu family and the young master Jiang were engaged, but the young lady of the Mu family cheated on Yi Qian. So the Mu family was afraid that the Jiang family would find out and vent their anger on them. They deliberately designed such a play to bring down the Jiang family. As long as the Jiang family fell, the young lady of the Mu family could be with Yi Qian officially. What a good play, what a good play. We were almost deceived by Yi Qian. Yes, we owe the Jiang family an apology. Their voices on the internet were getting louder and louder. Public opinion quickly turned to Jiang Bai. Many people who were watching the show turned their heads and thought that it seemed to be the truth. They joined the team condemning the Mu group. Mu Shui and Yi Qian were called the modern Pan Jinlian and Shimenqing. Chapter 16 Jiang Bai bows. Little did they know that Jiang Bai did all this on purpose. In this world, there is a force called Navy. Their role is to set the pace. Hiring them is also simple, just spend money. As long as the money is in place, anything black can be turned into white. What's more, Jiang Bai was originally innocent, and the thing he had the most was money. Just as Jiang Bai said, how much money can you make from a building? They don't need to risk offending the country by carrying out violent demolitions. Poverty breeds evil schemes, while wealth breeds conscience. In front of all the reporters, Jiang Bai walked up to the families of the fallen soldiers and said sincerely, "I apologize to you on behalf of the Jiang family. Don't worry, I promise you in front of so many people today. As long as I am still in Jiang's company will never demolish your building by force. If you encounter any difficulties in the future, you can come to me and I will do my best to help you. Sorry." Jiang Bai bent down 90 degrees and bowed deeply to the family members. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes passed. Jiang Bai was slow to get up. Click, click. Reporters quickly pressed the shutter button to record this scene. I suddenly feel that this young Master Jiang is not so annoying after all. Yeah, maybe the analysis on the internet is true. National husband. He is handsome and rich. Most importantly, he is gentle and elegant, without the aura of a rich second-generation dandy. Don't stop me, I want to marry Jiang Xiao. The female netizens of the netizen went crazy. It is rare to find a young, wealthy and handsome second-generation rich man. They have basically only seen it in movies and TV dramas. Young Master Jiang, please stand up. How can we, old and weak widows, accept such a great gift from you? An old woman stretched out her trembling hands and came forward to help Jiang Bai up. Her weather-beaten face was covered with deep wrinkles. The skin on his hands was as rough and dry as tree bark. There are several thick calluses on the palms of my hands. Obviously, he does a lot of heavy work on a daily basis. Mother-in-law. Looking at the old woman's aged face, Jiang Bai's heart was suddenly touched. My nose feels sour and pointed. Whose mother and wife is this? Young Master Jiang, the reason we stopped you from demolishing the house is because we're worried that my son won't be able to find his home when he returns. I beg you, old woman, please give me some leniency and let me wait for my disappointing son. This is where he grew up. As my wife spoke, tears fell like rain. She knew that her son would never come back. His eyes looked longingly at a dilapidated old building not far behind him. There were traces of her son's life there. Looking at this old building, she seemed to see her son playing downstairs when he was a child, so happy and carefree. Jiang Bai supported the old woman and glanced at the faces of all the family members present. Regardless of age, their faces were filled with expressions of helplessness and despair. They could have lived together as a family happily. They enjoy the happiness of family, with loving father and filial son, and live a happy life. But as their sons, husbands, and fathers sacrificed their lives for their country, such simple days are completely gone from them. They could only look at the black and white photos and feel sad. No one can understand the sadness of seeing an older person send off a younger one. No one could feel the grief in their hearts. Watching this scene, Jiang Bai's eyes suddenly turned red, and tears seemed to be about to burst out. Under the shocked gazes of all the reporters, Jiang Bai bent down sincerely. I'm sorry, it's Jiang's fault for causing you trouble. I'm here to apologize to you. President. Fang Linger quickly stepped forward and helped Jiang Bai up. Jiang Bai stood up with Fang Linger's help and said solemnly, Secretary Fang, please make the arrangements. We must not allow our staff to destroy any grass or tree in the old building. It is a holy place. Let us wait together for the return of the heroes. Fang Linger nodded seriously. I understand, President. She had never seen Jiang Bai with such a serious expression. Don't worry, mother-in-law. We won't demolish your building. Jiang Bai patted the old woman's hands and said sincerely. The old woman was touched and said with tears in her eyes, Thank you, old lady. Thank you. As she said this, the old woman was about to kneel down to Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai dared not accept such a gift, and hurriedly supported the old woman and said, Mother-in-law, this is what I should do. Your son, he is a hero. Heroes should not be tarnished. I am touched, I am really touched. Several emotional female reporters wiped away the tears from their eyes. Under the influence of Jiang Bai's high charm, they suddenly felt that Jiang Bai was a really good person. No developer will ever give up a property they have already acquired. No businessman will give up the profits in his hands. Jiang Bai's move completely infected countless netizens in the live broadcast room. Especially those netizens who have experienced violent demolition or the families of fallen soldiers. Compared with the developers they have experienced, Jiang Bai is really a good person. At this moment, Jiang Bai supporters on the internet increased rapidly. Good boy, you have some skills. Father Jiang looked at the live broadcast in his hand and smiled slightly. Master Jiang, we still need to investigate the matter of Yalan community. Once we have thoroughly investigated, we will definitely restore justice to the Jiang family. Chief Wang of the police station came over and said. Until this moment, he also didn't believe that Jiang would commit violent demolitions. But as a policeman, everything must be based on evidence. This is their duty. Then I'll trouble you, Director Wang. A hero cannot be tarnished. Director Wang, please find out the truth and find out who is behind this and hurt the hero's heart. Jiang Bai said with a serious face. Don't worry, we will. After the director finished speaking, he escorted the site manager and other Baoqiu residents into the police car. Everyone. Jiang Bai Mian said to all the reporters, everyone, the police have already started investigating the truth of the matter. No matter what, I believe the police will definitely clear our Jiang family's name. I assure you once again that Jiang will never do anything that violates morality, law, or conscience. We believe you. Under the influence of his charm, the reporters had an inexplicable liking for Jiang Bai. Click, click, the shutter sounds rang out. The incident ended with the sound of shutter clicks. Jiang Bai personally sent all the family members home and only returned to Jiang Group after they were settled. Boss Jiang, your Bo not only solved the problem perfectly, but also caused Jiang's stock market to soar rapidly. I admire you. I admire you from the bottom of my heart. In the office, Mr. Li gave a thumbs up and complimented. Jiang Bai gave Mr. Li a cold glance. Why, do you think I bowed for show? Mr. Li immediately realized that he had said the wrong thing and quickly apologized with a smile. No, please don't misunderstand, Mr. Jiang. I have some things to deal with, so I'll go out and take care of them first. Go ahead. Jiang Bai waved his hands in annoyance. After Mr. Li left, he took out his cell phone and called Jiang's father. Old fox, prepare the meal. Let's have a drink together tonight. Chapter 17: The Mu Family's Insidiousness. At night, Father Jiang and Jiang Bai were sitting on the rooftop of the villa. Fang Linger and Arfu stood behind Jiang Bai. Looking at the bright and bustling city ahead, Jiang's father sighed. What do you think is the purpose of living? Jiang Bai didn't say anything and drank the beer in his glass. Thank you so much today. If you hadn't sent someone to monitor Yi Qian, I wouldn't have been able to handle it so easily. Father Jiang waved his hand nonchalantly, took out a bill and said, in order to help you monitor Yi Qian, I spent $10 million to buy a top-notch camera equipment. With this set of equipment, we can monitor Yi Qian's every move. You have to reimburse me for the money spent on the equipment. Jiang Bai took the bill and put it in his pocket without even looking at it. To reimburse? It will never be reimbursed in this lifetime. Changing the subject, he asked, by the way, have you found Tang Yu? Father Jiang didn't understand Jiang Bai's little tricks, so he spread his hands and said, Block B of Lotus Pond. I sent someone to meet her there. Thank you very much. Jiang Bai put down his wine glass, stood up and left. He knew in his heart that even though Yi Qian was taken away by the military, but in the end, they will be released safely. What he had to do was to take advantage of the time when Yi Qian was taken away to eliminate Tang Long and Mu Ben. As long as either of them falls, Yi Qian will be equivalent to losing an arm. When Jiang Bai rushed to the Lotus Pond, ready to meet Tang Yu, the Mu family fell into a dark cloud. Looking at the news reports from major media outlets, Mu Shui almost vomited blood out of anger. What is Panjinian too? In ancient times there was Panjinian, and now there is the bitch Mu Shui. What was the reason that made Mu Shui give up the handsome Jiang Bai and choose the plain-looking Yi Qian? Is it because of blindness? Even Jiang Bai's previous displays of kindness towards Mu Shui were dug up by netizens. All of a sudden, various female netizens began to denounce Mu Shui. Asshole! Mu Shui became angrier and angrier as she looked at it, and in a rage, she threw the tablet in her hand to the ground. She is quite famous, and everyone on the internet knows about her. But, they are all bad reputations. You are sitting at home and being scolded online. She originally wanted to cooperate with Yi Qian to get something on Jiang Bai in order to avenge the humiliation of breaking off the engagement. Now it has the opposite effect. He shot himself in the foot. Jiang Bai's reputation was not ruined, but her reputation was. Knock knock. Mu Shui, come out here. Along with the knock on the door, Mu Ben's angry voice rang out. What's up? Mu Shui just opened the door. There was a snapping sound. Mu Ben slapped Mu Shui on the face and cursed fiercely. Look at the good things you've done. I told you to hold Jiang Bai's thighs tightly, but you pretended to be noble and messed around with that Yi Qian behind my back. Now, your plan to deal with Jiang Bai has been exposed. The entire internet is boycotting our Mu group. It's all your fault. Mu Ben became angrier as he spoke, and reached out to hit Mu Shui again. Mu Shui covered her beaten face and said with a wronged look. Didn't I do this at your instigation? Why are you blaming me now? You dare to talk back. Mu Ben slapped Mu Shui on the face again. Seeing this, Mu's mother hurried forward to hold Mu Ben and persuade him. Yi Qian has been taken away by the military and is in danger. Our hope now lies with Jiang Bai. Hasn't Jiang Bai always liked Shui? If we just let Shui go to Jiang Bai and give in, won't all the problems be solved? Let me ask Jiang Bai for help. Mu Shui showed an unhappy look on her face and felt extremely resistant in her heart. Mu's mother stepped forward and took Mu Shui's hand, saying kindly, Shui, Mom knows I don't like Jiang Bai. But for the sake of our family, you have to put up with it. As she spoke, Mu's mother winked at Mu Ben. Mu Ben came over immediately, put on a smile and said, Yes, swear, just bear with it for a while. Go find Jiang Bai and use some tricks to get him to compensate us for the losses caused by this incident. Then you can take this money and go find Yi Qian. All right. Thinking of Yi Qian, Mu Shui agreed reluctantly. When Mu's father and mother heard that Mu Shui agreed, smiles appeared on their faces. In front of Mu Shui, they discussed how much compensation Jiang Bai should pay. In their minds, as long as Mu Shui humbles herself, Jiang Bai will definitely be obedient. After all, they watched Jiang Bai grow up and knew him very well. On the other side, Jiang Bai didn't know that the Mu family was plotting against him. With the driver driving, they took Fang Linger and Afu to the Lotus Pond. In front of the door of Lotus Pond Block B, several bodyguards were already waiting for Jiang Bai. The little golden man stopped when he saw Jiang Bai. A bodyguard walked to the front of the car and respectfully opened the door for Jiang Bai. Is Tang Yu in there? Jiang Bai got out of the car and asked. Replying to Mr. Jiang, Miss Tang is inside. The bodyguard made a pleased gesture in front. No hurry. Jiang Bai waved his hand and said, go and help me block the signal within 100 meters. He knew how difficult Tang Yu was. In the original book, Tang Yu is the only person who makes Yi Qian feel strenuous. She is cunning, crafty, clever, and likes to deceive people without them knowing. Even Yi Qian suffered losses at his hands many times. But in the end, she couldn't escape the protagonist's halo and was taken into Yi Qian's harem. Jiang Bai already had a plan in mind to deal with Tang Yu. After the bodyguard blocked the signal, he brought Arfu and Fang Linger to the door of Tang Yu's room. Knock knock. Miss Tang, are you in the house? Jiang Bai asked as he knocked on the door. After he finished speaking, no one came to reply from inside the room. He. Jiang Bai raised the corners of his mouth. He knew that Tang Yu must be doing something in the house, so he gestured to Arfu. Afu, break the door. Yes. Arfu kicked the door, and with a bang, the whole door broke into pieces. Wait for me at the door. After Jiang Bai finished speaking, he walked into the room. A woman wrapped in a bath towel came into his sight. The woman had shoulder-length hair and a pair of big eyes, and was looking at Jiang Bai in confusion. It seemed that he had not expected that there would be an uninvited guest in the room. Seeing that Jiang Bai's eyes were fixed on her, the woman lowered her head to glance at the towel on her body and screamed. Are a hooligan. She quickly ran into the bedroom, got into bed, covered the quilt with her hands, and said pitifully. Who are you, and what do you want to do to me? I don't want to do anything, I just want to make love with Miss Tang. Jiang Bai showed a lewd smile and walked towards Tang Yu step by step. Don't come over here. Tang Yu was so scared that she leaned against the head of the bed, looking at Jiang Bai with horror. Snap. Jiang Bai suddenly stopped, clapped his hands, and said with regret. Ms. Tang, your acting skills are great. It would be a shame if you didn't become an actor. Who the hell are you, and what do you want to do to me? Tang Yu seemed really scared and looked at Jiang Bai with fear. The body began to tremble. Okay, Miss Tang. Stop pretending and hand over the evidence of Tang Long's crime. Jiang Bai stretched out his hand and got straight to the point. Chapter 18 Tang Yu's Special Conditions. What evidence? I don't know what you're talking about. Tang Yu pretended to be confused. But my heart was shocked. His eyes subconsciously avoided. She was the only one who knew that she had evidence of Tang Long's crime. Where did Jiang Bai know this? At this moment, she was wary of Jiang Bai. The eldest son of the Jiang family didn't seem as simple as she imagined. Why? Too clever is too clever. Jiang Bai sighed and said helplessly. Under Tang Yu's shocked gaze, he reached out and pulled the quilt off Tang Yu to the ground. Let Tang Yu's beautiful spring beauty be exposed to the air. No. Don't come over here. There was a look of fear on Tang Yu's face, which made people want to love and protect her. If Jiang Bai had not read the original novel and knew that Tang Yu was pretending, he would probably have been fooled by Tang Yu. Jiang Bai ignored Tang Yu's acting, stretched out 2 fingers, and said seriously. Ms. Tang, I'm giving you 2 choices now. First, hand me the evidence of Tang Long's crime, and I will give you some money and send you abroad. Second, I will tell Tang Long that you have evidence of his crime. Then, you will just have to fend for yourself. You know Tang Long's methods. After hearing this, Tang Yu's face changed suddenly. The look of pity and fear disappeared without a trace in an instant. He said with a serious face, "How did you know that I have evidence of Tang Long's crime? Don't worry about this. You only have two choices, pay it or not," Jiang Bai said in a cold tone. He couldn't tell Tang Yu that he was a time traveler and had read this novel. Not only did he know that Tang Yu had evidence of Tang Long's crime, he also knew that Tang Yu had a mole on her chest. "I'm sorry, you've got the wrong person. I don't have any evidence of Tang Long's crime." Tang Yu denied it. "Really? If you don't accept my toast, you will have to drink the penalty wine," Jiang Bai sneered. Before Tang Yu could react, he pressed her onto the bed. "What are you doing? Let me go." Tang Yu struggled violently on the bed. "Some very bad things came to my mind." Jiang Bai held Tang Yu down, his face fierce as he said, "I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the evidence of Tang Long's crime. Otherwise, I'll find someone to take your place." He. Tang Yu ignored Jiang Bai's threats, sneered a few times, and said sarcastically, "It turns out that the eldest son of the Jiang family would use such despicable means to intimidate a girl. I just don't know what kind of sensation this incident will cause if it gets out to the outside world." "Are you threatening me?" Jiang Bai asked without changing his expression. "So what?" Tang Yu shouted fearlessly. She had prepared a backup plan long before Jiang Bai arrived. A pinhole camera was quietly installed in the room. "Everything that happens here will be secretly recorded by the camera. And it will be automatically saved in the cloud account she set. As long as Jiang Bai dares to force himself on her, she will make the secretly recorded video public. By then, Jiang Bai will definitely be ruined. Do you know that even if I raped and killed you, no one would know?" "Threatening me? Do you think you're not dying fast enough?" Jiang Bai asked sternly. Apart from feeling a little annoyed, he didn't really care about Tang Yu's threat. He knew Tang Yu's backup plan very well. In this room, the only means available is to take secret photos. Secretly record his every word and action. "Young Master Jiang, you can try. I'll trade my life for yours, and I'll make a killing," Tang Yu said firmly and decisively. He seems to be not afraid of wearing shoes even if he is barefoot. "You are so clever that you outsmart yourself." Jiang Bai smiled contemptuously, let go of Tang Yu, and stood up from the bed. He took out the phone from his pocket, placed it in front of Tang Yu and said, "Before coming here, I had already blocked the signal here. None of your secret photos or videos can be uploaded to the internet. You'd better hand over the evidence of Tang Long's crime." "Impossible." Tang Yu raised his head and looked at the three big words, "No signal," displayed on Jiang Bai's phone in disbelief. I quickly took out my cell phone to confirm. "No signal. There's really no signal." Tang Yu was suddenly panicked and felt very disappointed. Just as Jiang Bai said. Without signal, she couldn't upload the secretly recorded video. It can't threaten Jiang Bai at all. Unless Jiang Bai is a fool, he will not let her leave with the video in broad daylight. But is Jiang Bai a fool? Obviously not. Jiang Bai looked at Tang Yu, who was obviously a little flustered, and said calmly, "So, are you giving up now? Your so-called support is of no use at all in my eyes. Even if I did do something to you, the police wouldn't get a call. What do you want?" Tang Yu looked at Jiang Bai warily as if he was facing a formidable enemy. She subconsciously protected her chest with both hands, fearing that Jiang Bai would be tempted by her beauty. "I don't want anything." Jiang Bai came in front of Tang Yu, stared at Tang Yu with his eyes, and said jokingly, "I'll give you two options. First, I'll find someone to take turns with you. Second rule, hand over the evidence of Tang Long's crime. What do you want to choose? What do you want to choose?" These 5 big words echoed in Tang Yu's mind. Tang Yu's heart suddenly tightened and he began to calculate the gains and losses. Time passes by every second. Jiang Bai didn't rush Tang Yu. The duck that is at your mouth can't fly away. He believed that with Tang Yu's intelligence, he would definitely hand it over. Certainly. If Tang Yu continued to refuse to hand it over, he wouldn't mind finding someone to take Tang Yu's place. After all, he is a villain. After a long time, Tang Yu finally made up his mind and looked at Jiang Bai with a firm expression. "I can give you the evidence of Tang Long's crime, but I have a condition. Woman, you have to understand that you don't have the power to negotiate with me. You can only give or not give. Jiang Bai said coldly, without giving Tang Yu any room for negotiation. I want you to sleep with me, is this not an acceptable condition? Tang Yu bit her lip and looked at Jiang Bai pitifully. No. Jiang Bai refused outright. He admitted that Tang Yu was very beautiful. Shoulder-length hair, a cherry mouth, and a pair of affectionate eyes. The overall appearance is a beauty with a score of over 95. But this woman is too cunning. Who knows if sleeping with her will cause unnecessary trouble? As a top rich second generation, Jiang Bai knows very well what kind of women he can sleep with and what kind of women he cannot touch. If you can't control your lower body, you will only get into trouble. Who knows if there is a woman who borrowed his sperm to give birth to a child and then turned around to threaten him? Especially for someone like him, who has mortal enemies outside. One wrong step leads to all wrong. Is it because I'm not pretty? Why don't you even touch me? Tang Yu asked indignantly. Her lips are pouty, adding a bit of charm. Chapter 19 begins to suppress the Mu group. Don't waste your time. I won't touch you. Jiang Bai said indifferently. Why? Tang Yu asked unwillingly. In terms of appearance and figure, she believes she is no worse than any other woman. It's no exaggeration to say. As long as she simply beckoned, countless men would surround her and fall under her skirt. Jiang Bai said coldly, no reason. I will not give you any chance to get promoted, nor will I show you any mercy. The communication between you and me is limited to Tang Long's criminal evidence. Oh. A self-deprecating smile appeared on Tang Yu's lips. At this moment, she was completely defeated. Even her self-righteous figure and appearance were not worth mentioning in Jiang Bai's eyes. Tang Long's criminal evidence is inside the floor tiles of my bathroom. After Tang Yu finished speaking, he remained silent. Understood. Jiang Bai left after saying a few words. He didn't even look at Tang Yu for a second. Perhaps in the eyes of others, Tang Yu is an unparalleled beauty. But in his eyes, Tang Yu was just a pile of skeletons. Master Jiang. At the door of the room, several bodyguards bowed respectfully to Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai glanced at everyone and assigned tasks to them one by one. Afu, go to room 302, building 11, Julongwan community. I found a USB drive under the bathroom floor tiles and brought it back. The rest of you, keep an eye on Tang Yu. Don't let her leave without my order. Also, change Tang Yu's room. Search this room thoroughly. Find all the cameras that Tang Yu hid in there. Yes, Mr. Jiang. All the bodyguards began to move in an orderly manner. Jiang Bai put his arm around Fang Linga's waist and turned to walk towards another room. Although he doesn't like Tang Yu, he is also a man. When I pressed Tang Yu on the bed just now, some skin contact was inevitable. A fire had already risen in my heart. Fang Linga knew what was going to happen next and her face turned red. Linga, enjoy yourself while you can. Following Jiang Bai's cheer, Fang Linga was stripped naked. Hey, hey, hey. The next day. The morning sun shines into the room. Jiang Bai felt an itch in front of his nose and opened his eyes drowsily. Fang Linga was using her long hair to test the tip of Jiang Bai's nose. Go get a short haircut later. Jiang Bai said domineeringly. Fang Linga's eyes dimmed and she nodded guiltily. Ding-a-ling. The phone rang. Jiang Bai answered the phone and his father's voice came from the phone. Jiang Bai, go home. Many people are looking for you. Who is looking for me? Jiang Bai asked puzzledly. The heads of the major groups said they came to apologize to you. Father Jiang's voice fell. With a beep, the phone was hung up. It's such a tiring life. Jiang Bai complained as he put on his clothes. During the entire dressing process, there are inevitably some scenes that are not suitable for children. By the time Jiang Bai stepped out of the lotus pond, it was already noon. I'm going to go home first, you can go get a haircut. After Jiang Bai finished speaking to Fang Linga, he turned around, sat on the little golden man, and left. Jiang family villa. Today is particularly lively. Several CEOs in suits, with their families, sat in the living room of the Jiang family, smiling. After they learned that their families had accidentally offended Jiang Bai, they couldn't sleep all night. As soon as daybreak, They all put aside their current tasks and rushed to the Jiang family to apologize. Creak, there was a sound of a door being pushed open from outside. Several CEOs subconsciously looked towards the entrance of the villa. Hey, why are there so many people today? Jiang Bai's frivolous voice sounded. The figure appeared in front of several CEOs. All the CEOs stood up and shouted flatteringly, "Young Master Jiang." Jiang Bai waved his hand and said, "Everyone, please sit down." "Why are you standing up?" "Young Master Jiang, please sit down first. I wonder why you all came to my house." Jiang Bai sat on the sofa and pretended to be confused. He had already asked Jiang's father on their way and knew why these CEOs came. A big-bellied CEO came forward and said flatteringly, "It's like this, Mr. Jiang. Yesterday, my family member accidentally offended young Master Jiang. Today, I brought her here to apologize to young Master Jiang." "Apologize to me?" Jiang Bai looked at the woman behind the boss. She was one of the rich ladies who mocked Fang Linger in the clothing store yesterday. His face turned pale and he said sarcastically, "This CEO is too modest. They are noble people born with a silver spoon in their mouths. How can I ask them to apologize?" Cold sweat instantly broke out on the boss's forehead, and he lowered his posture even more, saying with a smile, "Mr. Jiang, my family members are not as good as Mount Tai. I'm sorry for offending you, Mr. Jiang. Please forgive me. In front of young Master Jiang, how dare we call ourselves noble?" As he spoke, the boss winked at the woman. The woman changed her arrogant face from yesterday and said humbly, "Mr. Jiang, we were blind and didn't recognize you yesterday. We are here to apologize to you. Please be magnanimous and let us go this time." "Yes. Yes. Master Jiang, you are a great man and don't bear grudges. Calm down." A group of billionaire CEOs all said this with smiles on their faces. "You have to accompany me. Don't be fooled by their arrogant and domineering appearance outside." But in front of Jiang, they really couldn't stand up to the standard. Compared with Jiang's, their net worth is just a drop in the bucket. Forget it, Jiang Bai. All the CEOs have come to apologize in person. Let's just let this matter go. Jiang's father advised from the side. He shouldn't have shown up at such a small scene. But he was bored and had nothing to do, so he came out to take a look. After hearing that Jiang's father had spoken, Jiang Bai couldn't hold back. "I can reveal this matter, but..." Jiang Bai paused and scanned the faces of the CEOs sharply. When all the bosses were getting a little restless, he started to preach. "It's easy for me to let you go, but you have to do me a favor." "Mr. Jiang, what can I do for you?" the bosses asked fearfully. As long as Jiang Bai does not use the Jiang Group to suppress their industries. Don't ask for a favor. Even if it's just 10 favors, they are willing to help. It's like this. Jiang Bai whispered to the CEOs. After hearing this, the CEOs breathed a sigh of relief and patted their chests to assure him. "Master Jiang, don't worry. From now on, we will never do any business with the Mu Group." "That's right. As long as young Master Jiang speaks up, we will immediately end any cooperation with the Mu Group." "Very good." Jiang Bai nodded with satisfaction. Now, the evidence of Tang Long's crime is in his hands and is no longer a concern. As for the Mu Group, with these groups helping to suppress it, it was only a matter of time before it went bankrupt. By the time Yi Qian is released, I'm afraid everything will have changed. It would be difficult to rely on the Mu family and Tang Long to rise to the top and pose a threat to the Jiang family. "Everyone, I wish us a pleasant cooperation," Jiang Bai said with a smile on his face. "It's been a pleasure working with you." The bosses echoed with smiles on their faces. Then he left the Jiang family villa with satisfaction. Come this time. Not only did they successfully resolve the issue, they also managed to get in touch with Jiang Bai. It can be said to be a double happiness. As for whether the Mu Group will go bankrupt because of this, what does it have to do with them? It's not like their group is going bankrupt. Are you really going to take action against the Mu family? After all the bosses left, Jiang's father asked calmly. No. Jiang Bai shook his head gently and said, "The Mu Group is being besieged by other groups. What does it have to do with me?" "You little fox, you are so shameless," Jiang's father scolded. "It's the same with you, it's all inherited from the same family," Jiang Bai retorted unwillingly. Chapter 20 The Shameless Mu Family. Hee hee. Father Jiang chuckled and turned away. Jiang Bai was the only one left on the sofa. Ding-a-ling. The phone rang. Jiang Bai looked at the incoming call on the screen and frowned slightly. This is a person he hates very much, Mu Shui. With a beep. Jiang Bai didn't even answer the call and just hung up. Do you really think he is the original owner's bootlicker? Come when called and go when dismissed. Beep. Hearing the busy tone in her ear, Mu Shui felt a sense of loss in her heart. In the past, Jiang Bai would never hang up on her. How's it going? Did you get through? Mu's mother asked in a low voice. Mu Shui shook her head slightly and said, he didn't answer. Silly boy, keep fighting. Don't you want to go find Yi Qian? Mother Mu said anxiously. Oh. Mu Shui dialed the phone again. Ding-a-ling. Why isn't it over yet? Jiang Bai looked at Mu Shui's call, answered it impatiently, and asked coldly. What do you want? Don't call my personal number if you have nothing to do. I want to invite you to dinner. Mu Shui said hesitantly. Eat. I don't have time. With a beep, Jiang Bai hung up the phone. Have a meal. Let him continue to be a bootlicker? Hearing the busy tone coming from her ears again, Mu Shui felt even more uncomfortable. It felt like something was blocking my heart. Mu Shui, let me tell you. Today, if you can't get through to Jiang Bai, don't come back. Mu Ben sat aside and said coldly. Hit another one. As long as you explain it to him with reason and appeal to his emotions, Jiang Bai will definitely come out. Mu's mother began to persuade. Ding-a-ling. It's not over yet. Jiang Bai was filled with anger and was about to start cursing after answering the phone. There was a cry coming from the phone. Jiang Bai, can I ask you out for dinner? Why are you still crying? Jiang Bai felt puzzled and replied subconsciously, okay. He wanted to see what tricks Mu Shui was going to play. Real. On the phone, Mu Shui burst into laughter. Tonight, wait for my notice. After saying that, Jiang Bai hung up the phone. If you succeed, I'll say Jiang Bai still likes you. A happy smile appeared on Mu's mother's face. Even Mu Ben couldn't help but smile. In their hearts, they believed that as long as Jiang Bai agreed to come out, Mu Shui would be able to take him down. After all, they watched Jiang Bai grow up and had some understanding of Jiang Bai's personality. Little did they know that Jiang Bai had already been replaced by someone else. The White River here is not the same as that river. Ding-a-ling. Jiang Bai's phone rang for the fourth time. This time Jiang Bai did not start cursing. Our Fu's voice rang out on the phone, boss, we've got the USB drive. However, I found that Tang Long's people seem to have been watching around Tang Yu's house. Did he notice something? Jiang Bai frowned after hearing this. If Tang Long knew about the existence of the USB flash drive, Tang Yu would not be alive today. Then why did he send people to keep an eye on Tang Yu's house? Is it to protect Tang Yu? New mysteries filled Jiang Bai's mind. Afu, don't worry about anything else for now. Make a copy of the USB drive immediately and hand it over to the police station. Remember, you must make a copy, and do it quickly. Jiang Bai reminded on the phone. I understand, Mr. Jiang. With a beep, our Fu hung up the phone. Time passes by minute. It was getting dark. Jiang Bai sat on the sofa and didn't move for the whole afternoon. He was thinking about what to do next. During this period, he received a call from Fang Linger, saying that she was getting her hair permed. Seeing that the time was almost up, Jiang Bai called Mu Shui and said directly. Wait for me on the first floor of Xinghua Hotel. New. After hanging up the phone, Mu Shui felt extremely uncomfortable. In the past, she always ignored Jiang Bai. In her heart, Jiang Bai is just a rich bootlicker. Check out and pick up her bag for her. If she is unhappy one day, she will take it out on this dog. But suddenly one day, she found that the dog stopped licking her. On the contrary, he began to become more and more distant from her. Even bit her back. The feeling of anxiety and loss lingered in Mu Shui's heart. She subconsciously changed into her favorite outfit. Hurrying to Xingqian restaurant. I was afraid that I would be late and make Jiang Bai angry. Xingqian restaurant. A car ignored the security guard at the door and drove directly to the restaurant entrance. Jiang Bai, wearing a light blue suit, got down from the little golden man. He threw the car keys to the security guard beside him and said, "Set up the car for me." He came alone tonight. To be honest, the feeling of driving the little golden man for the first time was really good. "Jiang Bai, you're here." Mu Shui was wearing a light blue dress and standing at the door of the restaurant waiting for Jiang Bai. The face that had never smiled at Jiang Bai before rarely smiled tonight. "What's the matter with you calling me here?" Jiang Bai asked with a cold face. His condition did not improve because Mu Shui smiled at him. "Jiang Bai, let's go inside and talk." As Mu Shui spoke, she reached out to wrap her arms around Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai dodged it and said expressionlessly, "I don't like being touched by women other than my fiancé." After hearing this, Mu Shui felt mixed emotions. It is not right to retract the hand you have extended, nor is it right to leave it unreached. At first, she was quite happy when she received the news that Jiang Bai and Fang Linger were engaged, because she got rid of Jiang Bai's entanglement. Afterwards, she felt more and more empty inside. Even with Yi Qian beside her, he couldn't hide her emptiness. "Nephew Jiang is here, come in quickly." Mu Ben walked out with a smile on his face and reached out to pull Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai looked at Mu Ben with disgust, took a step back and said, "Boss Mu, please call me Boss Jiang and don't try to get too close to me. After all, you're not worth getting close to me." Mu Ben didn't feel embarrassed, he touched his nose and said, Boss Jiang, please come in. I have already prepared a banquet for you." "Forget the banquet. What do you want me to come over for?" Jiang Bai turned and asked Xiang Mu Shui. This. Thinking of what Mu Ben had said to her, Mu Shui didn't know how to start. Mu Ben anxiously winked at Mu Shui and said with a smile, "It's like this, Mr. Jiang. Mu Shui knows that she did something wrong and wants to beg for your forgiveness." "Begging for my forgiveness, is it that simple?" Jiang Bai looked at Mu Ben jokingly. "Yes, I beg for your forgiveness. But you have to pay 2 billion. Mu Ben said shamelessly. "How many?" Jiang Bai scratched his ears in disbelief and looked at Mu Ben as if he was a fool. He knew that Mu Shui had no good intentions when she came to him. Mu Ben held up 2 fingers and gestured, 2 billion. "Boss Jiang, you've been pursuing Mu Shui for so many years. 100 million a year, isn't that too much?" Mu's mother also came over and said, "Boss Jiang, with the strength of your Jiang family, it would be easy to come up with only 2 billion, right? Just think of it as, these 2 billion are for Mu Shui." Chapter 21 The only thing I quit is you. Har har har. Jiang Bai was successfully amused by Mu's father and mother. He turned his head to look at Mu Shui and asked, "Is this what you think?" Mu Shui was a little at a loss when Jiang Bai looked at her. But after seeing Mu Ben's determined gaze, he nodded slightly. Jiang Bai's expression changed, and he sarcastically said, 2 billion, do you deserve it? 2 billion, I can support a different woman every day, and never repeat the same one for 100 years. Could it be that you really have diamonds inlaid in it?" Jiang Bai looked at Mu Shui with a strange look. The Mu family's 3 views completely refreshed his understanding of the 3 views. How could this family be so shameless? "Boss Jiang, she is Mu Shui. In your heart, isn't Mu Shui worth 2 billion? Mu's mother questioned loudly. It immediately attracted the attention of people around. Jiang Bai held up 2 fingers and said, 200. She is only worth 200 in my heart. After saying that, Jiang Bai turned around and left without staying for any longer. When Mu Shui heard Jiang Bai's words, she froze in place. A layer of bitterness emerged in my heart. Her value in Jiang Bai's heart was only 200. Why are you still standing there? Go chase him. Mu Ben urged anxiously. Oh. Mu Shui reacted and quickly chased after Jiang Bai. She wanted to ask Jiang Bai clearly. Is she really so unbearable in Jiang Bai's heart? Looking at Mu Shui's departing figure, a gleam of light flashed in Mu Ben's eyes. He said calmly, "What a mistake. It seems that Mu Shui is really worthless in Jiang Bai's heart. What he did just now was just a test on Jiang Bai. If Jiang Bai had shown a hint of hesitation just now, it would mean that Mu Shui still had a certain weight in Jiang Bai's heart. But judging from Jiang Bai's performance just now, Mu Shui is really not important in Jiang Bai's heart. Old Mu, what should we do next?" Mu's mother looked at Mu Ben and asked. "Why? Mu Ben sighed and said, as the saying goes, if a man chases a woman, there's a mountain between them, but if a woman chases a man, there's only a layer of gauze between them. Whether we can defeat Jiang Bai next depends on Mu Xue's ability. This little bitch, I told her a long time ago not to keep Jiang Bai on suspense. But she just wouldn't listen and pretended to be noble. Mu's mother said indignantly, becoming more and more dissatisfied with Mu Xue. Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai, wait for me. Mu Xue trotted to Jiang Bai's side. What? Do you have anything else to do? Jiang Bai asked in a bad tone. Aye. Looking at Jiang Bai's cold face, Mu Xue hesitated to speak. Nothing, don't contact me anymore. Jiang Bai walked towards the little golden man calmly. Looking at Jiang Bai's back, Mu Xue suddenly mustered up the courage and asked loudly. I want to ask you, am I really so unbearable in your heart that I am only worth 200 yuan? In the past, she would have hoped that Jiang Bai would stop contacting her. But now, Jiang Bai's indifference made her feel extremely unfamiliar. The changes in just a few days were too much for her to accept. Jiang Bai did not answer Mu Xue's question, but instead said in a commanding tone. Kneel down and help me polish my shoes. You. Mu Xue suddenly became annoyed and angry and wanted to lose her temper. Why? You don't like it? Don't you want the 2 billion that Mu Ben mentioned? Jiang Bai looked at Mu Xue with a sneer on his face. Oh shit. Mu Xue thought of Mu Ben's words, suppressed the anger in her heart, and slowly squatted down. He used his sleeve to wipe Jiang Bai's leather shoes. Tears wet her eyes and she felt extremely aggrieved. But when she thought of Mu Ben's words, she was helpless. In the past, Jiang Bai would do this kind of thing for him. Shine shoes, deliver meals, serve tea. Looking at Mu Xue polishing his shoes, Jiang Bai's eyes flashed with memories. With this memory in mind, Jiang Bai asked, Mu Xue, do you still remember that year on the commercial street? You accidentally spilled milk tea on your shoes, and I squatted down to wipe it off for you. The rich second generation around me all say that I'm too stupid. Is a woman worth me lowering myself like this? But they didn't understand that I really liked you. Now it seems that they were right. I was too stupid. Hearing their voice beside her, Mu Xue paused in polishing her shoes. Her thoughts brought her back to a few years ago. Jiang Bai's care for her came to her mind. The tears in my eyes finally couldn't be held back and burst out. Come on, I'll take you somewhere. Jiang Bai took Mu Xue to the little golden man, opened the driver's door, and sat in. Just as Mu Xue was about to open the door and sit in the passenger seat, Jiang Bai stopped her and said, Sit in the back. The passenger seat is for my fiancé. Mu Xue felt even more uncomfortable, and she endured the discomfort and sat in the back seat. Boom. With Jiang Bai's step on the accelerator, the little golden man flew away. On the way, Jiang Bai called Fang Linger and went straight to where Fang Linger was. Half an hour later, Jiang Bai stopped in front of a barber shop. Fang Linger had been waiting at the door for a long time. At this time, her long hair had disappeared, replaced by short hair. Beautiful, really beautiful. Jiang Bai got out of the car, walked forward and hugged Fang Linger's waist, and asked gently, Are you hungry? Let's go get something to eat. Fang Linger was about to agree when she turned around and saw Mu Xue behind Jiang Bai. She was instantly shocked. A heart beating like a deer. He said nervously, Mu. Miss Mu, you are here too. I brought her here. Come on, let's go eat. Jiang Bai took Fang Linger and walked towards the barbecue stall on the street. He found a clean spot at random, sat down, and shouted loudly. Boss, 5 kidneys, 5 bottles of beer, and 20 pork skewers. Okay. Mu Xue looked at the messy environment on the stall and frowned slightly. In her impression, Jiang Bai never comes to such places to eat. But now when she looked at Jiang Bai again, she felt no discomfort eating in such a place. Not even Fang Linger, who was standing beside her. Here's your beer, handsome man. The barbecue will take a while longer. The boss put the beer in front of Jiang Bai and said, Thank you very much. Jiang Bai was not pretentious. He opened the cap and started drinking from the bottle. A bottle of wine was drunk. Jiang Bai made way for him. This kind of place is still the best. Mu Xue couldn't help but ask, Jiang Bai, I remember you never drank beer before, and never came to a place like this to eat. Can time really change everything? Jiang Bai smiled slightly, shook his head and said, actually, I haven't changed. You said you don't like drinking, so I quit drinking. You said you don't like smoking, so I quit smoking. I can give up everything you don't like. But in the end, I found that I didn't like you anymore, so I gave up on you. Jiang Bai's words stimulated Mu Shue's nerves. Mu Shue didn't know how she got back to the Mu family. Along the way, the scene of Jiang Bai and Fang Linger eating at a street stall filled my mind. Every word Jiang Bai said echoed clearly in her mind. Eat skewers and drink wine with big gulps. Am I really wrong? Suddenly, Mu Shue felt a strong sense of regret in her heart. Maybe she really did something wrong. Chapter 22. Mu Ben holds a press conference. Are you all ready? In the police station, Chief Wang looked at the police below and asked in a serious tone. In the afternoon, they suddenly received a piece of evidence of Tang Long's crime. The evidence included Tang Long's various smuggling transactions. After various verifications, they found that the evidence was actually true. This is outrageous. After an afternoon of discussion and arrangements, they decided to arrest Tang Long immediately. Get ready, set off now. At Director Wang's order, dozens of police cars began to move out secretly. Their actions did not escape Tang Long's eyes and ears. Tang Long sat on the sofa in his home, listening to the report from the man with tattoos, frowning slightly. He said in a dignified manner, "Why are so many police officers operating in secret? Huanan, have you found out why the police took action?" The man with the tattooed arms shook his head, leaned down and said, "Boss, no. No matter how hard our people tried, they couldn't find any information. Nothing at all." Tang Long suddenly felt something was wrong. He looked at the man with the tattoos seriously and said, "Huanan, are you sure you didn't get any information?" "Boss, I'm sure." The man with tattoos replied respectfully. With a whoosh, Tang Long stood up and said urgently, "Quick, those who contacted us retreat, they are coming for us. Coming for us." The man with tattooed arms was about to ask the question in his mind, but he saw Tang Long's serious face. He shut up immediately and started making arrangements. The other side. After Mu Shue left, Jiang Bai and Fang Linger did not return to the Jiang family. Instead, after reuniting with Arfu, he came to a rooftop not far from Tang Long's house. Looking at Tang Long, who was evacuating in a hurry below, Jiang Bai couldn't help but feel emotional. Tang Long has managed to get to where he is today, so he is definitely not an ordinary person. From just a few words, he could tell that the police were coming for him. "Master Jiang, do you want me to stop them and buy some time for the police?" Arfu asked while rubbing his fists. Jiang Bai waved his hand and said, "No, it's best for us not to interfere in this matter. Let's go, it's time for me to leave too." After saying that, Jiang Bai turned around and walked downstairs. The three of them sat on the little golden man and disappeared nearby without anyone noticing. Before we knew it, it was the third day. There are only 4 days left before Jiang Bai's engagement. A piece of news spread to all walks of life in Linhai City. According to the police, they uncovered a smuggling case that night, with the number of smuggled items reaching hundreds. The smuggling leader is named Tang Long, whose original name is Tang Yaogang and is known as Tang Lao in the underworld. Currently, this person is fleeing with a man named Huanan. Please pay attention to the public. The report was downplayed. But the locals of Linhai City and many people of status were shocked. Do they know who Tang Long is and how powerful he is? As the underground emperor of Linhai City for more than 20 years, he was wanted just like that. Old Tang is actually wanted. Mu Ben was a little bit incredulous after receiving the news. Do you think it was Jiang Bai who did it? Mu's mother asked from the side. You mean, Jiang Bai used his connections? Father Mu frowned. It's not impossible. Mu's mother said. No matter what, old Tang's departure is not good news for us. As Mu Ben spoke, a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. He suddenly thought of a way to save the Mu group and said to Mu's mother. Go and make arrangements. We will hold a press conference this afternoon. Jiang family. Jiang Bai sat on the sofa and smiled slightly when he heard the news report. He knew exactly where Tang Long would escape to. He just wanted Tang Long to escape. The farther you run, the better. It would be best if you could escape abroad. Country Z is different from other countries. It is a society ruled by law. If Tang Long had been in the country, based on the evidence, he would have been sentenced to life imprisonment at most. On the contrary, as long as Tang Long steps out of the border of Country Z, that will be the time for him to take Tang Long's life. It is not uncommon to kill someone or buy a gun abroad, especially in some remote areas of the country. Run away. Where can a stray dog run to? Jiang Bai stood up and walked back to his room. There, a beautiful woman was waiting for him. Afternoon. As Tang Long was wanted, Mu Ben held an emergency press conference in the meeting room of the Mu Group. Looking at the reporters below, Mu Ben smiled and said, "Everyone, thank you for taking the time to attend my reception. Today, I want to clarify one thing. I know that because of the violent demolition incident in Yalan community the day before yesterday, some netizens online have some misunderstandings about our Mu Group. Today, I want to tell the truth behind this and prove the innocence of our Mu family." As Mu Ben's voice fell, many reporters became confused. They didn't expect that Mu Ben held a press conference because of this incident. A female reporter stepped forward with a microphone in hand and asked Mu Ben, "Boss Mu, what's the truth behind this? Is there another hidden story behind this?" Mu Ben nodded gently, looked around at all the reporters present, and said, "People on the internet say that it was because of me, the Mu family, that the violent demolition took place, but that's not true." As he spoke, Mu Ben paused. When all the reporters looked expectant, he continued, "In fact, our Mu family is also a victim in this matter. All of this was done by the evil forces led by Tang Long." Wow. The reporters were immediately in an uproar. Just like in a vegetable market, there was a lot of discussion. The female reporter continued to ask, "Mr. Mu, you are saying that the violent demolition was done by Tang Long, do you have any evidence?" "Of course." Mu Ben turned around and took a document from his secretary, opened it to the female reporter, and said, "This is an agreement regarding the demolition of Yalan community, and the signatories are Tang Long and I. I'm ashamed to say this." Mu Ben's face changed, and he said with regret, "When Jiang handed this project over to our Mu Group, Tang Long came over after hearing about it. He told me that he wanted to take over the project. I didn't think much about it and handed the project to him. Who would have thought that he would choose violent demolition? It was my fault that I met the wrong person, had no vision, and trusted the villain. I am sorry to the original residents of Yalan community." Mu Ben showed a repentant expression on his face and bent deeply in front of the reporters. "Do you think the apology is the end of it? The real show has just begun." In front of the live broadcast room, Jiang Bai looked at Mu Ben, who was bending over, and smiled contemptuously. He reached out for his phone and dialed the numbers of all the major groups he had worked for before. "I'm Jiang Bai. You can do what you promised me now." After saying that, Jiang Bai hung up the phone and looked at Mu Ben in the live broadcast room with a sneer on his face. Chapter 23. Another lottery. "Boss Mu, you're talking about the matter in Yalan community. You don't know anything about it, right?" a male reporter asked. Mu Ben stood up straight, nodded slightly, and said with a firm expression, "That's right. Our Mu Group has been in Linhai City for more than 20 years and has never done anything to let the people down. Everyone knows the reputation of the Mu Group over the past 20 years. Could it be that we have wronged the Mu family as well?" Netizens in the live broadcast room began to try to speak. At this time, Mu Ben's backup plan came into play. All the good things done by the Mu Group were posted on the internet. Some visited the patients, while others donated relief supplies. Mu's reputation has always been very high in Linhai City. I don't believe that Mu's will use violent demolition. Among the crowd of reporters, a reporter wearing glasses spoke to the camera. "I don't believe it either." The reporters who were bribed by Mu Ben spoke one after another. Their speeches instantly inspired countless netizens. A group that has been in business for more than 20 years shouldn't choose violent demolition. Netizens' hearts began to waver. For a moment, I didn't know whether I should continue to boycott the Mu family. In the barrage, there were more voices speaking for the Mu family. Everything was developing in the direction Mu Ben had imagined. A smile appeared on Mu Ben's face. This was exactly the ending he wanted. Perhaps, the Mu Group can take this opportunity to further enhance its reputation. Right at this moment. Ding-a-ling. The phone rang. Mu Ben looked back and saw that it was his secretary's cell phone. Didn't I tell you that you are not allowed to bring cell phones during the press conference? Mu Ben looked at the secretary with a hint of anger. The secretary didn't dare to refute and took out his cell phone to hang up. I saw the name of Mr. Liu on the incoming call contact list. He whispered in Mu Ben's ear, "Boss, it's Mr. Liu." Mr. Liu. Mu Ben frowned slightly. Mr. Liu was his partner, so he couldn't just hang up the phone. He took the secretary's phone, answered the call and asked, "Hello, Mr. Liu, what's the matter with calling at this time?" "Mr. Mu, I want to talk to you about the project we discussed before." "Mr. Liu, do you agree to sign it?" Mu Ben's face showed joy. That was a big project. As long as Mr. Liu agrees to sign, he can earn at least 100 million. Today is really a double happiness. He could not only put the blame of the violent demolition on Tang Long. You can also get a big order. Just when Mu Ben couldn't help but smile. On the phone, Mr. Liu slowly said, "Mr. Mu, forget about that project. I will never cooperate with the Mu Group again." Mu Ben's heart suddenly tightened, and he spoke hurriedly. "No. No. Mr. Liu, didn't we agree on this?" Beep. There was a buzzing sound on the phone. Holding the hung-up phone, Mu Ben's heart instantly fell from heaven to hell. Ding-a-ling. Ding-a-ling. The phone rang again, not giving Mu Ben any extra time to think. Mu Ben looked at the incoming call, put on a smiling face, and answered the call. "Hello, Mr. Wang, what can I do for you?" "Boss Mu, don't mention our cooperation anymore." With a beep, the phone was ruthlessly hung up. Ding-a-ling. "Hello. Mr. Jiang. The cooperation is cancelled." "Hello, Mr. Li." The phone kept ringing. Mu Ben's expression became worse with every call he answered. Until the end, the face turned almost black and was so gloomy that water seemed to drip out of it. "Hey, Mr. Mu, let's cancel our cooperation." When the call was hung up again. With a puff sound. Mu Ben spat out a mouthful of angry blood from his mouth. His heart couldn't bear the blow, his eyes turned black and he almost fell to the ground. The secretary behind him quickly stepped forward to support Mu Ben and asked with concern, "Mr. Mu, are you okay?" "I'm fine." Mu Ben wiped the blood from his mouth and shouted unwillingly, "Jiang Bai has caused me so much trouble." As the sound fell. With a thud, Mu Ben fainted completely in the secretary's arms. "Mr. Mu, call an ambulance quickly," the secretary shouted. The reporters looked at each other, some of them not understanding why Mu Ben said that Jiang Bai had harmed him. However, they were unwilling to miss such explosive news. The live broadcast machines were all aimed at Mu Ben. Even after the ambulance took Mu Ben away, the reporters did not leave immediately. "Next, it's time to get rid of Tang Long once and for all." Jiang Bai closed the live broadcast room and smiled slightly. There was a strong murderous intent in that smile. "You want to kill Tang Long? Do you need my help?" Jiang's father stood behind Jiang Bai at some point and asked casually. "No, I can handle it myself," Jiang Bai said indifferently, standing up and walking towards his room. "Don't you want to know where Tang Long escaped to?" Jiang's father said indifferently. "I know where he went, so you don't need to worry about it." Jiang Bai waved his hand and stepped into his room. He remembered that he seemed to have 5,000 looting points that had not been used. System, give me 5 consecutive draws. Extracting. Congratulations to their host for making 5 consecutive draws. Congratulations to their host for winning attribute point +1. Congratulations to their host for winning the prize of light as a swallow. Congratulations to their host for winning the park hour skill. Congratulations to their host for winning attribute point +1. Congratulations to their host for winning attribute point +1. 2 hot currents flowed through Jiang Bai's body. Jiang Bai felt his body become unusually light. He had an illusion that he could fall smoothly from the 3rd floor to the 1st floor by just lifting his legs. He added 3 attribute points to speed, strength, and physique respectively. His properties panel becomes Jiang Bai, Jiang's only son. Identity, big villain. Mission, kill the protagonist Yi Qian. Luck plunder value, 0. Speed, 7+. Strength, 7+. Constitution, 7+. Charm value, 10. Skills, Gunmaster, Park Hour, Light as a Swallow. Follower, Arfu. As light as a swallow can make their host's physique as light as a swallow. Tip: all attributes in this world are capped at 10 points. Jiang Bai felt his body after the treatment and lay down on the bed to rest. The sky gradually darkened. Jiang Bai got up from the bed, tidied himself up, and went to the living room. You really don't need my help. Father Jiang sat on the sofa and asked calmly. No, I want to do it myself. Jiang Bai said. It's just Tang Long, why do you insist on doing it yourself? Can't you just send 2 people? Jiang's father asked with concern, with a hint of confusion in his tone. I don't feel comfortable with other people going. There is something Jiang Bai didn't tell his father. As Tang Long is a member of the protagonist camp, who knows if anyone will come out to save him when his life is hanging by a thread? He doesn't want to lose Jingju due to carelessness. Send a bunch of minions to give experience to the people in the protagonist's camp. Only after he saw Tang Long die with his own eyes did he feel relieved. Well, be careful along the way. Father Jiang said something and turned back to his room. Chapter 24: Mu Ben's Collapse. That night, a little golden man drove out of the Jiang family villa. There were only 3 people in the car: Jiang Bai, our Fu, and the driver. Boss Jiang, the boss has already bought the plane ticket for you, and your luggage is in the trunk. Okay, I understand. Jiang Bai slowly closed his eyes and recalled the subsequent plot in his mind. In the original book, Tang Long has a secret base in Chinatown of Country Tea. Moreover, he also has a close relationship with a boss of the underground forces in Country Tea. The little golden man drove all the way and stopped at the airport in Linhai City. Jiang Bai and our Fu dressed up in disguise. Pretending to be 2 white-collar workers on a business trip, they boarded the plane. Ladies and gentlemen, the plane is ready to take off. Please fasten your seat belts and turn off your electronic devices, including mobile phones with airplane mode enabled. As the broadcast sounded, the plane taxied into the air. At the same time, a ship was traveling fast on the high seas. Ahem. At Linhai Renher Hospital, Mu Ben coughed twice and slowly opened his eyes. Where am I? Looking at the white decorations around him, Mu Ben asked in confusion. Lao Mu, this is a hospital. Mu's mother sat aside and spoke softly. Hospital. This is the hospital. Mu Ben struggled to get up, but his mother quickly held him down and said. Old Mu, the doctor said you need to lie down and recuperate. Recover from illness. How can I have time to recover from illness? How is the company doing? Mu Ben asked anxiously. The company is his life, and he will never let any problems happen to the company. Why? Mother Mu sighed and hesitated to speak, then lowered her head and remained silent. A bad thought flashed through Mu Ben's mind. He grabbed Mu's mother's shoulders with both hands and asked anxiously. Tell me quickly, what's going on with the company? Their company is about to go bankrupt. Mother Mu lowered her head and spoke with difficulty. It's going to go bankrupt soon. A bolt from the blue flashed through Mu Ben's mind, and he loosened his grip on Mu's mother's hand and fell into a daze. His eyes were lifeless and his pupils were unfocused. He looked like a fool and muttered to himself. If it goes bankrupt, the company will go bankrupt. During the time you were in the hospital, various groups called us and wanted to terminate their contracts with us. Our capital chain and industrial chain have been completely broken. Mu's mother said worriedly. She also felt extremely uncomfortable. A few days ago, she was the wife of the chairman of the Linhai City Mu Group, with a net worth of tens of billions. In a blink of an eye, their company will face bankruptcy, and she will be left penniless. Jiang Bai. Jiang Bai, you have a cruel heart. Mu Ben gritted his teeth and said. He is not a fool. It can make so many companies unanimously cancel their cooperation with Mu Group. Apart from the giant Jiang family, who else has this ability? Old Mu, what should we do next? Mu's mother asked anxiously. Mu Ben turned his head, stared at Mu's mother with gnashing teeth, and yelled in frustration. What can I do? Isn't all this thanks to your precious daughter? As the heir of the Jiang family, Jiang Bai is a woman that many rich daughters want to marry but can't. Your daughter is so good. She thinks she is noble and doesn't even take Jiang Bai seriously. She really thinks she is a rich lady. She is just a wild girl we picked up. Now that the Mu family has gone bankrupt, let's see what you and your daughter will do. As he spoke, Mu Ben coughed up a pool of blood from his mouth again. Mu's mother quickly picked up a piece of cloth and wiped Mu Ben's wound, saying comfortingly, "Old Mu, don't get excited. Heal your wounds first." Mu Ben pushed Mu's mother away and said with a ferocious look, "How can I not be excited? This company is the result of my life's work. I have put so much effort into this company. Now, all my life's hard work has gone to waste just because of a wild girl I picked up. If I had known earlier, I shouldn't have picked up Mu Shui and let her freeze to death in the snow." Clank. As Mu Ben's voice fell, the sound of a food bowl falling to the ground was heard at the door of the ward. Mu Shui looked at Mu Ben and Mu's mother in shock with tears in her eyes. She heard clearly what Mu Ben had just said. Because of her, the company is about to face bankruptcy. And she was not Mu's biological daughter, but was picked up by Mu Ben. "Shui, don't listen to your father's nonsense. He was just angry and said nonsense," Mother Mu said anxiously. Mu Shui shed tears silently, shook her head, and said in a crying voice, "I heard it all clearly, please stop lying to me. The company is about to go bankrupt because of me. And I am just a wild girl you picked up. It's me who harmed you. I'm going to find Jiang Bai and ask him to let you go." After saying that, Mu Shui covered her mouth and ran out of the hospital. Just as Mu's mother was about to get up and chase after him, Mu's father grabbed her and said, "Let her go. Maybe there is still a glimmer of hope for the company." Beep. "Sorry, the number you dialed is powered off." On their way, Mu Shui cried all their way and called Jiang Bai all their way. No matter how many times she called, the phone always said it was turned off. "You really don't want me anymore." Mu Shui recalled every detail of her and Jiang Bai's relationship, and couldn't help feeling sad and regretful. He squatted on the side of the road, hugged his legs with both hands, and cried helplessly. The other side. After Jiang Bai boarded the plane, he had already turned off his cell phone and fell asleep. Sir, the plane will land soon." A beautiful stewardess came forward and woke Jiang Bai up. "Thank you very much." Jiang Bai opened his eyes drowsily and patted his face to make himself more awake. "The plane is landing, please hold onto your seats." Following the plane's broadcast, the plane landed smoothly at Country T's airport. Jiang Bai took our Fu and walked out of the airport. Jiang Bai felt a little uncomfortable at first when he saw our Fu wearing a big hat and a suit. Outside the airport, a thin man saw Jiang Bai and the others coming out, walked up to them and said respectfully, "Mr. Jiang, the boss has already given the order. Come with me." Jiang Bai and the other man followed the man, got into a shabby jetter, and drove away from the airport. On the way, the man asked, "Mr. Jiang, what do you need?" "I'll prepare it for you." "Gun, give me a sniper rifle." After acquiring the gun master skill, Jiang Bai had never played with a gun. "I couldn't wait any longer and was eager to try it out." "Understood." The jetter sped along and stopped in front of a house with a door curtain. "Mr. Jiang, come with me." The man opened the door and led the two to the basement of the room. Everywhere I looked, I saw guns densely packed on the walls and floor of the basement. "Master Jiang, you can choose whatever you want. These guns have all been improved." "No, take this." Jiang Bai picked up the AWM sniper rifle from a wall. He had used this gun in the game and was very familiar with it. Chapter 25, Sniping Tang Long. "Master Jiang, don't you want to consider that Barrett?" The man pointed to the other wall. "Barrett, you have them all." Jiang Bai turned around, threw away the AWM, and picked up the Barrett. He is also very familiar with this gun. Back then, he had made great military achievements with the help of this Barrett. The enemy was defeated and surrendered. Incomparable scenery. In the end, he was permanently banned because he was reported for cheating. "Master Jiang, this is what the boss asked me to give you." The man took out a tablet and handed it to Jiang Bai. On the tablet was a map with a road marked with a red line. "The old fox is really fast. He even arranged a retreat route for me." Jiang Bai smiled slightly and threw the tablet to our Fu. The man smiled and said, "The boss did this for young Master Jiang's safety." Jiang Bai reached out to stop the man from speaking and said, "Okay, stop talking nonsense and lead the way. You should know where Tang Long is, right?" "I know." The man grinned, packed up everything, drove the shabby jetter, and disappeared with Jiang Bai. Chinatown. People come and go, and the lights and wine are bright and colorful. Even at night, it cannot stop his prosperity. The people living here are all of Chinese descent. There are also countless foreigners experiencing the culture of Chinatown. The man parked the car under a tall building and pointed to a club in front of him and said, "Master Jiang, according to the information our people have obtained, that is Tang Long's new place of residence. It's just that Tang Long hasn't arrived yet at this point. It doesn't matter. A cooked duck can't fly away." Jiang Bai looked around, looking for a suitable sniping point. The most suitable sniping point is the tall building in front of him. But the location of the tall building is too obvious. Once he shot and killed Tang Long, it would be easy for him to expose himself and evacuate quickly. A dilapidated old building on the street next to him suddenly caught Jiang Bai's attention. The old building is located just in front of the right side of the clubhouse. Between the two, there is a two-story building that separates the two streets. Let's go to that old building. Jiang Bai took out the barrette from the car and wrapped it tightly with a layer of black cloth. Walking towards the old building. The old building is 4 stories high and is a very ordinary residential building. The three of them climbed up to the rooftop through the old stairs, and Jiang Bai aimed his barrette at the club. The sense of distance and line of sight are just right at the entrance of the club. This location is fine, let's go to the 3rd floor. Jiang Bai moved to the 3rd floor and came to an empty security door. Looking at the locked security door in front of him, Jiang Bai gestured to the man, "Can you open the door?" The man made an okay gesture and said lightly, "Small problem." The man took out a piece of wire, inserted it into the keyhole, and turned it a few times at random. With a click, the security door was opened a crack. The man opened the security door and gestured to Jiang Bai, "Mr. Jiang, please. Get out of the way." Our Fu pushed the man aside and stepped into the room first. After checking the room and making sure there was no danger, our Fu walked up to Jiang Bai and said, "Mr. Jiang, it's safe inside, you can go in." "Good." Jiang Bai moved into the room and walked straight to the room facing the club. It was a small, dusty bedroom. Jiang Bai came to the window and took a look, just in time to see the door of the club. Moreover, the height of the 3rd floor was enough for him to evacuate quickly after sniping Tang Long. "This is it." Jiang Bai waved at the man, and the man took out a pair of headphones and handed them to Jiang Bai. Then he began to speak, "Young Master Jiang, I will drive the car over to pick you up." "Go ahead." Jiang Bai put the headset on his ears and waved his hands casually. Then he placed the barrette on the window and waited for Tang Long to appear. After the man left, he walked straight to the car, opened the car door and sat in. Time passes by unknowingly. While Jiang Bai was waiting for Tang Long to arrive, Mu Shui also came to the door of Jiang's house. Looking at the Jiang family's gate, Mu Shui stopped and hesitated. If it were in the past, she would have stepped in without hesitation and questioned Jiang Bai. But today, she hesitated and was reluctant to take a step forward. She is no longer the daughter-in-law of the Jiang family. She came to ask Jiang Bai for help. She didn't know how to face Jiang's father and mother, and she felt inexplicably aching inside. "Miss Mu, since you are here, why don't you come in?" Fang Linger appeared behind Mu Shui at some point and asked. Aye. Mu Shui looked at Fang Linger, the woman who replaced her, and didn't know how to start for a moment. She didn't know whether she hated Fang Linger for taking Jiang Bai away from her. "Come in, Miss Mu. Otherwise, if the president finds out, he'll blame me again." A cunning look flashed in Fang Linger's eyes. She has always disliked what Mu Shui did before. "I have always felt sorry for Jiang Bai in my heart. Jiang Bai, are you home?" Mu Shui mustered up the courage to ask. He looked at Fang Linger with expectation, hoping to hear the word she wanted to hear. Fang Linger shook her head and said, "The president is not here. He hasn't come back all night." "Oh, excuse me." Mu Shui's eyes were suddenly filled with loss, and she turned and left. Her originally graceful back looked extremely desolate. "When I see the president, I'll ask him to find you." Fang Linger shouted towards Mu Shui's back, then stepped into the Jiang family's gate. "Thank you." Mu Shui left a word and her figure became longer and longer under the light. The sky gradually brightened. Jiang Bai stood by the window, waiting for Tang Long's arrival. As a sniper, you need to have great patience and don't be anxious. He did a good job in this regard. Boom boom. Suddenly, the sound of a car was heard on the street in the distance. The man's voice sounded in the headset, "Mr. Jiang, Tang Long and the others are here." Clear. Jiang Bai's eyes suddenly became sharp. Barrett's gun was quietly pointed at the club's door, ready to go. There was a sound of brakes. Several off-road vehicles were parked in front of the club. A dozen minions got off the car, observed the surrounding environment, and looked for possible dangers. At this time, Jiang Bai's old rival, the man with tattoos, got out of the car. The man with tattoos looked around, and after making sure there was no danger, he opened the door of an SUV in the middle. Tang Long's elderly figure appeared in Jiang Bai's eyes. Jiang Bai took out a piece of chewing gum from his pocket, put it in his mouth and started chewing. This was something he prepared in advance. After all, it was his first time to carry out a sniper attack, so he couldn't help feeling a little nervous. The presence of chewing gum can help him release stress. "Boss, please." Tang Long didn't know that the god of death was waving at him. Led by the man with tattoos, he walked into the club. With normal wind speed and normal temperature, you can kill with one shot. Jiang Bai licked his lips subconsciously. He pointed the gun at Tang Long's head and gently pulled the trigger. With a loud bang, a bullet mercilessly penetrated Tang Long's head. Before anyone could react, Tang Long was shot in the head. Red and white flowed all over the ground. The body fell limply to the ground.